Did I offend you?
Microphones are on. I'm sure you should be able to say.
They didn't hear me swearing yesterday.
Probably not.
I was reminded of somebody ties my shoes together. I was very upset with that.
Not yet. Not this week, though, yet.
I mean, I'll do my best, but I have to do this too. Because I have something. Good morning, sports fans. Welcome again to the Dartmouth Curling Club in pretty nice downtown Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. It's a meme. Downtown Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, where we are in the 3-4 playoff for the 2020 Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
We're in the tiebreaker for the 2020 Scotties Tournament of Hearts.
That's the 3-4 playoff.
Are they the same thing?
Yeah, I guess. It's a tiebreaker. We've got Jill Brothers playing Tanya Hilliard for the opportunity to play second place Colleen Jones for an opportunity, again, to play against Marianne Arsenal in the final. Everyone seems to be in a pretty good mood this morning.
Sorry, I'm looking up the pretty nice Dartmouth meme.
It's a real thing.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I'm with Denise Nicholson.
And I'm with Danielle Nicholson, so it sounds like one person is talking to themselves. It's not really what's happening, it just happens that we're sisters.
Sometimes just one of us talks to ourselves, though.
That would usually be me.
Yeah.
All right.
And we're off. Heather
Mcphee
throwing lead stones for Tanya Hilliard's team.
giving her team a great opportunity to warm up their bodies early this morning, having to sweep that one the whole way.
Did we give a rundown who was what color and teams and stuff?
We didn't. I was going to ask you if you wanted to talk about how we determined last rock and color, but you were looking up that meme.
It's an important meme.
It is.
I didn't find it. So I still don't believe you. Hilliard and Brothers, it was determined by ranking. So Brothers had finished higher in the rankings by
They had
their
the same
win
record,
last night.
but since Brothers beat Hilliard, that meant that Brothers had superior standing, and they were able to choose between Last Rock and Color, just like we usually do with the coin toss, and Brothers chose Last Rock.
So Hilliard chose color, and yellow was the color of choice. It's always my color of choice.
No, they chose blue. Hilliard's blue.
Hilliard is blue. Wow.
So, if you were Brothers, you would be really happy right now.
Yeah, I wrote down the wrong color.
That's all right. Okay, team list for Hilliard. Lead, Heather Mcphee. Formerly Heather Ross, so we're probably going to call her that at least 9 times. Second, Mackenzie Findell. Third, Taylor Clark. And skip, Tanya Hilliard. I'll do the Brothers team as well.
You can just lift up the binder. It's already
Oh, you're
together.
so organized. Okay, Team Brothers. Lead, Jen Brine. Second, Sarah Murphy. Third, Erin Carmody. And skip, Jill Brothers. We were saying yesterday, and I'll try to only say it once today, that this team definitely has the nicest hair on the ice. Their hair looks better when they're competing in an athletic event than my hair has ever looked in my entire life.
That it goes the same for me.
Excellent exchange of rocks there. And yellow, which is Brothers, has a center guard. And Hilliard's electing to come around that here for the first time this end. We're not just doing hit, but that's probably because, Danielle, that yellow rock is sitting out there in the free guard zone.
It is sitting out there in the free guard zone. We should talk for a second, just in case people haven't been watching the whole week. The format, we've got 10 ends, 38 minutes of thinking time, a break after the 5th end, and 2 timeouts allotted per team.
Yes. Usually they'll hang on to those timeouts until the second half of the game.
You'll hear another game out there. It's the other featured game, Sheet D. Manuel and Stevens are playing their tiebreaker. We will try to keep you updated on that.
If you'd like, though, you could watch that tiebreaker by selecting Sheet D on your web device. John Seitman will be providing the commentary on that sheet. Brothers is attempting to give a little bop to that blue rock that's at the back of the 12-foot. And Sarah Murphy successfully removing the blue that was at the back of the 12 and rolling her yellow out of the rings, but not out of play. We did see a yellow rock hanging on the back on this sheet yesterday that did end up having an effect on the Jones-Arsenal game.
We did. It was on the other side of the sheet, but same theory.
Yep. So just because a rock isn't in the rings doesn't mean that it's not going to have impact on how the end turns out.
This is coming to T-line. I don't think it's going to get quite undercover.
A little bit behind the T line there, but
Jill electing to take it out right away. As we were last night, we are behind sheet B, so our angles are not the same as if we were in the hack.
making it a little bit challenging to, imagine where we would put the broom, but I think we can trust that Jill knows where to put it.
I would definitely trust Jill to put the broom down in the right spot.
For sure.
Erin sweeping there.
So since Erin's on the high side of the stone and she's the only one sweeping, we can reasonably assume that they want the stone to curl. Sarah Murphy successfully removing both of those stones. Well, the shooter rolls out and she removed the target stone.
I feel like the shooter rolling out there is pretty good.
Yeah, that's definitely, they didn't want to leave another yellow one hanging around behind the tee line there.
No, you want things above the tee line, especially this early.
Yep. Another come around by the Hilliard team. Both sweepers ready to go when the time comes.
Just sort of keeping it clean. Heather going now, trying to get some curl.
That looks a little hot to me, but it's probably perfect.
I think even if it is a little hot, they need to bring it around.
Yeah, they really do need to get that curl at the end there.
Yeah.
But I think you'll find that this one is ripe for the picking for brothers again. Aaron Carmody delivering the gentle weight hit. Not a whole lot of action from the sweepers here, so I think they must be pretty happy with it, although Sarah Murphy's ready to go, and now is trying to make it curl a little bit.
You might be able to see from both teams,
Oh, a surprising miss there by Aaron Carmody.
That is a surprising miss.
That's too bad, but exciting for Hilliard as they set up to throw another draw in behind that long, tight yellow center guard.
This is the time to try and capitalize. I was going to say you might be able to see members of each team, not all of them, but some of them are throwing with a different broom. That would be just so that they feel a little more stable and it's what they're comfortable in.
So that wouldn't be with Aaron Carmody here throwing with the hair broom, that wouldn't be the broom that she swept with as well, would it?
No, a hair broom is no longer legal, sadly.
So everybody's got those yellow heads out there now. Those are the legal competitive heads.
Which makes it a little more fair. Everyone has the exact same fabric.
Technology.
Yeah.
And it's better for the ice surface to have that consistent.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. Joe Brothers looking at this double.
That was a nice stone by Taylor Clark, I think.
Yeah, perfect weight just above the tee line there. But there is an opportunity for a double here for Brothers. I think they'll have a hard time keeping the shooter, but we'll see how it goes.
Jen Bryan on it right away.
Oh, and a little rub on the front there. Although,
Just clipping it.
not a terrible result for Brothers because now those two blue stones are available. But we'll see.
And they've got a yellow counter.
Yeah, and we'll see how long Hilliard allows those two stones to remain vulnerable like that. Oh, do you know what, Danielle?
What?
I wanted to say hi to our friend Owen Graham, who probably isn't going to be able to make it down here today, but is almost definitely listening.
Yeah. So, howdy, Owen.
I know he hasn't been feeling well, but he would be here 100% of the time.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
And Owen would want you to know that the Dartmouth Curling Club is a longtime home of the Briar Bear. You know that costume that they wear?
I do know the
Briar?
costume they wear, yeah.
That was sitting here in the corner of the bar for many a year, creeping me out.
Yeah. It originated with a former member of the Dartmouth Curling Club.
Oh, that's really interesting.
It is, yep. He was a Sundowner.
Sundowners is the sort of men's social and charitable committee here at the Dartmouth Curling Club.
They do a lot of things.
Lots of big contributions to the club.
Yeah.
I was just reading a sign this morning where they bought a stove for us not too long ago.
Yeah, it was great.
Yep. Okay, Tanya Hilliard throwing
The first of her stones this game. She's coming up.
probably a little deeper than they expected, although I don't think they're going to cry. Like Brothers is going to have a heck of a time getting all three of those rocks out, but I think they'll make an attempt to get those top two.
For sure.
If she hits that one that Hilliard just threw right on the nose, I think they'll lose both of those without too much trouble and probably keep their shooter.
And she can definitely throw the weight to move three stones.
Yeah.
It just might be the angles causing her trouble.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think they'll find it a little colder out there today than they have the last week. There's only 2 games and
Only one lonely person sitting in the stands. I don't know if he's lonely, but he definitely looks cold.
we've been the only people. We've been not the only people. Our only draws that we've been present for have been in the evening, where there have been many people in the stands.
Yeah, but not terribly surprising that there aren't very many people. Oh, what a great double.
Great shot by Jill, moving to and bopping that yellow that was hanging on to catch out the back.
So that yellow catcher at the back is gone, like Danielle said, but there is a blue catcher back there now, although I think probably going to be in a less dangerous position than that yellow one was. Jill's shooter also flopped on top of the remaining blue rock, giving it control. I think that was just a spectacular shot by Jill Brothers.
Just biting the 4-foot. It really is a great shot. Tanya now, I think, is going to hit and try to roll to center.
And she's got to do that to keep Brothers from having the possibility to score 3 here, right?
Yes.
Because if they leave that yellow rock hanging around out there, Jill runs her yellow into the blue, which is, as they would say, wired. Jill has a real good chance for 3. So
Yeah.
Hilliard's got to take that opportunity away, because giving up 3 this early in the game would definitely sting. Even though 10 ends is a long game and a great opportunity to scrap back, you just don't want to see that 3 up there.
You don't want that much in the first end. So we've got a nice hit.
Successful contact.
Gonna
Big roll
roll.
here by Hilliard.
Sarah's going to try and get it out. And again, the rock in the back corner coming into play.
Interesting that those rocks in the corner have really been a factor in this game.
Yeah.
You can't discount anything that's still in play, I don't think.
I don't think, not anymore.
So Brothers looking at this yellow-blue run back. She makes it. She will be sitting 2, and that'll be the score for this end.
So she just doesn't want to roll her shooter out.
That's right.
Yeah.
And 2 is a great score to make when you have the hammer starting off the game.
In the first end, it's great, yeah. Give you a little update over on sheet D. It looks like Stevens got 2 in the first end over Manuel, so the score is 2-0 after the first end. Again, you can catch that game by clicking sheet D.
And enjoy your lovely host, John Seidman.
Or you could come down to the lovely Dartmouth Curling Club in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.
Which is at 35 Canal Street.
If you are coming down, please remember that you cannot park in the market parking lot today.
Formerly the Value Village and formerly the liquor store parking lot. Make sure you park either in the Dartmouth Curling Club parking lot or further down Canal Street.
I think the Moffat's parking lot across the street you could maybe park in as well.
Yeah.
If you come for the 7 o'clock game, you could park in the market parking lot.
Yeah, but that's a couple hours from now.
It is.
All right.
So the score has been posted. As we said, Brothers picking up 2.
Lead Jen Bryan in the hack, ready to go, and Joe Brothers calling for a draw to the button for her first shot. While this rock is moving, it's a great time to praise our good buddy Lynn Burgess, who has been running this combined provincial playdown for the last 3 consecutive years.
She has done a great job putting together a great group of volunteers.
Lynn is one of those really gentle, soft-spoken people that you would not want to mess around with.
Yeah.
No, she is a really effective person, and just really a great person to be around.
She really is.
Here's Heather Mcphee playing come around on the medium length yellow guard. I wouldn't call that a long guard, but I wouldn't call it a tight guard either, Danielle.
I would call it a Deloitte guard.
A Deloitte. It's a major sponsor of this event.
They are the name sponsor of the men's event, and you can probably see in the ice just above the house, it does say Deloitte.
Perfect weight there by Heather Mcphee.
Really great shot, just biting the button. Jill and team are just talking about what best weight to throw to remove it.
And which way do you think they'll roll here?
I think they're going to roll towards sheet B.
So not undercover.
No,
I agree.
but it is curling. Tanya trying to pull it out.
And she does.
She does. But again, we've got a rock in the back corner of the house. I wonder if this one will come into play.
It's kind of further from the 4-foot line, so I think it's unlikely, but as we've seen over the last 2 games, you never know what's going to matter back there. Here's Heather Mcphee, daughter-in-law of the late great Peter and Louise Mcphee, and wife of Billy. I know you recognize that Mcphee name, but also formerly Heather Ross, a great curler in her own right, having attended the juniors with, I have it written down here, with Sarah Rhino in 2006 as lead.
I believe she also played with Jennifer Bryan at one point. I think that might have been the same year with Sarah Rhino.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so we've got some former teammates out there playing together and against each other.
It's good to see.
Yeah.
There's Sarah Murphy with an attempt to remove the stone thrown by Heather Mcphee.
We've got Erin Carmody sweeping pretty hard. Trying to get it by the guard.
Get it by, and
she does. That's a great sweep and a great throw. Gonna remind our friends. So in the past, when you were watching at home, you might have been able to see the time clocks above the scoreboards. Now we are using computer monitors. Why can't I say those words?
Well, you did that time.
I did. They are up behind the glass up here with us. So you'll see players looking up to see how much time they have left. We will try and keep you updated on times, but we are a little far away from the clock tonight.
Yeah, they're not super visible to us right now, but we'll let you know when time becomes a factor.
Also, it's morning. I said night. It's been a long day.
We were here less than 12 hours ago, and happy to be here again. Another removal attempt by Sarah Murphy. Good sweep by Erin Carmody and
Jennifer Bryan.
Oh, I was going to say in a roll to the outside, but that is also Jennifer Bryan.
Well, she did. She was the one who swept the roll.
Oh, good job. Takeout attempt by the Hilliard team. Heather Mcphee working away on that stone. They'll get it on the inside face and roll a little bit, not behind that yellow guard, but towards it.
Yeah.
So Jill going to hit and try and flop behind her guard. Erin Carmody throwing. Able to throw big weight, but not necessary for this shot.
And that's great to point out. Just because you can throw big weight doesn't mean it's the right thing to throw at every opportunity. This time, Erin Carmody threw that nice control weight, and Jennifer Bryan was able to contribute to the shot by sweeping. If you throw it too hard, sometimes your team can't help you out. And it is a team sport.
You sort of just take the sweepers right out of it. And you want to be able to... Sometimes you have to keep the shooter, and when you throw less weight, you can do that.
I mean, certainly sometimes it's fun and necessary to throw a high, hard one, but not all of the time.
You want to make sure when you are throwing a hit that it is enough weight to get the rock through the house.
Excellent point. Well, it is an excellent point.
Thank you. All right, Tanya Hilliard asking Taylor Clark to hit and just sort of flop behind the brothers' guard.
And I think she has it. Oh, perhaps a little bit too much of a roll there, and then That yellow rock in the back corner almost coming into play again.
It's very interesting to me how often these back sort of floater rocks are either in play or coming into contact. I didn't really know how I was going to finish that sentence.
That's fine. Way out in the edge of the 12-foot there. Here's Aaron Carmody making an attempt at that stone just thrown by Taylor Clark. They elected to play the straight turn here, which will mean a flatter roll if they get one.
You can see, I don't know if you can see, but Jill stopped that rock before it went into the other sheet. That's something that we've talked about a couple of times if you've listened to us before. I'm sure we'll talk about again. It's good to make sure your rocks don't go into the other sheet.
It's not just good, it's absolutely necessary. If your team set those rocks in motion, it's your responsibility as a member of that team to keep those rocks from spilling into other sheets, affecting the gameplay on other sheets because they could come into contact with rocks that are in play on other sheets, and protecting the safety of your fellow competitors.
And also the person in control of the house for the opposing team needs a chance to be able to sweep behind the tee line, and they can't do that if they're chasing your rocks.
Absolutely. Okay, here's a come around.
We've got Heather and Mackenzie sweeping pretty hard here.
You can see Mackenzie's closer to the rock, and since she's on the downturn side of the rock, that means they're making an attempt to keep it straight. But unfortunately, not quite enough weight there by Taylor Clark. Brothers playing the come around, going the other way, using their own medium or Deloitte length center guard. Both teams playing very quickly here. Maybe not very quickly, but fairly quickly here. Not wasting any time putting the broom down, traveling quickly from end to end. You can see when Jill Brothers got down there, her stone was already in the hack, and she's discussing the shot with her players while doing the necessary work of cleaning her rock. That's a real time saver that you see very consistently at this level. You never see skips stopping at the hog line to discuss the shot with the sweepers. She expects her sweepers to meet her in the hack, so that discussion can take place, and that's, probably said this 9 times, a real time saver.
And this early in the game, you want to sort of bank as much time as you can, so that in the later parts of the game, when sometimes things get a little more
complicated?
Yeah, you have more time to think about it, because as we said, it is thinking time, not running time, which I like better.
I like it better too, and the advantage, I think, of thinking time over running time is that teams that play a lot of draws, teams that play more aggressively, aren't punished by losing more time while their rocks are running, because of course a draw takes longer to travel from end to end than a hit would.
Now,
perfect come around there by Jill Brothers.
You talked about this last night, but I think it's worth talking about again. Pointing out that playing more draws is the more aggressive way. In most sports, we think of aggression as
harder and faster.
Harder and faster. I was going to say strength and speed, but yes, harder and faster.
That's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. But you were talking about how in curling it's not necessarily that way. Do you want to talk about that again?
Well, in curling, and I had the great opportunity to commentate with Selena Thompson the other day, who put it beautifully, and I don't think I can say it as nicely as she did, but in curling, adding more rocks to play, that's the aggressive play. And since to add more rocks to play is the gentler shot in curling, it seems counterintuitive, but aggression in curling is, draws and guards.
Because the point of curling is to be closer to the button, not have fewer rocks in play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here's Tanya Hilliard removing the yellow medium length guard.
I think
and rolling to have 2 pretty perfect corner guards there, Danielle.
Really, I think an opportunity was there to throw a run back from the angle we're at.
Yep. But she can't be disappointed with this result. She does have opportunities to get to the center. As we've discussed in earlier games, when you have last rock, you really want to make sure you have an opportunity to get to the button at the end of the end, because that's how you score points.
Yep.
You can see, Mackenzie Findell has taken her jacket off because she's working really hard. It must be starting to get a little bit warm out there.
Tanya Hilliard has taken her outer jacket off as well.
It's good.
So it is getting warmer, which is nice. I saw over on sheet D, one of the men took a toque off, too. Yeah.
The toque reduction.
Toque reduction.
Here's Jill Brothers with a draw. Expect we'll see this. Oh, it's a guard.
It's a guard, I think.
Right
on the eye in Deloitte, I think, is her plan. It looks a little hot to me, but no, I'm wrong. Both sweepers down now, so it's not at all hot.
Jen sweeping to get it over the center line and to have a little better coverage on that Brothers rock on the top of the 4 foot there.
I think it's pretty good. There might still be a path, but it's not an easy one.
I think Hilliard's playing come around here, Daniel.
I do.
I think that too.
I would love to update you on sheet D as they are into their third end, but they have not yet posted their second end. I am being told it was a blank on sheet D. Again, you can tune into the men's game by clicking sheet D on your website.
Tanya took a little moment to collect herself there. This is an important draw for the Hilliard team. Both sweepers down. Heather Mcphee closer to the stone, indicating that the concern is both for weight and keeping the stone straight. Lots of communication from the team there regarding their preferences for sweeping. It does look like it's going to slide a little bit too far.
Sarah Murphy ready to sweep it as far back as she can.
And yellow remains shot.
So
that's going to be 1 point, a steal of 1 point for Brothers.
You can see Brothers' team. I think you can see. I'm not sure what angle the camera's on, but
both teams having a
little huddle
in between in between ends. Just making sure that everybody remains connected. They review what happened in that end, and sometimes I've found as a skip it can be very isolating to be, at the far end of the sheet by yourself, not really in touch, especially with your front end. So it's good to have that just moment to reconnect.
And time has been built into the thinking time of the game. I think that they get something like 30 seconds between ends.
That's right.
That gives them time to put the rocks away, but also gives them time to have a little conversation.
Yeah.
That's really good. You don't have to have a long conversation.
You just want to reconnect, establish your plan for the next end, and then get right back to it. So the score, as we were saying, is 3-0 for Brothers over Hilliard after 2 ends.
Jen Bryan wasting no time in the hack. Her rock is already in motion.
When you're performing well, as I think you could say Brothers are, you want to keep rolling at the same pace that you've been moving at.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you want to keep that momentum. Jen Bryan's stone has slid probably a little further than they wanted and sits back 8. Tanya Hilliard playing the aggressive corner guard here, indicating that they want to try to score 2 in this end. Heather Mcphee, again, not wasting any time delivering that stone. That's, for the club curlers among us, something that you can really take from watching these higher level curlers is that they aren't wasting any time with their shots. All of their movements and time are efficiently used. Now, if we watch these sweepers, they're going to exit each to one side and travel down the seam between sheets so that they're not interfering at all with the other team's delivery of their next stone. This will be a center guard from Jen Brine. Oh, that'll be deep into the house, I think, Danielle.
I think so. I think it's going to be probably right where Jill's broom is, sort of top four
I think
on
it
the
might be a
center
little
line.
deeper than that.
Yeah.
That's going to come right back to the back one. So we might be seeing a little bit of a quick spot here. That's 2 stones in a row that Jen Brine, ordinarily a very consistent thrower, has put a little bit further than she expected. So that could be a little bit of energy, or it could be a little bit of a slide path.
Well, speaking of a little bit of energy, I was going to say a game like this, adrenaline has to come into play.
Absolutely.
And in other sports, adrenaline, I guess in this sport too, makes you go faster and be a little bit stronger. That's the point of adrenaline.
Yeah, and in curling, a lot of the time, especially as a thrower, you're managing your adrenaline. Sweeping is a great way to get that extra energy out, but as a thrower, you have to, breathe deep and make sure that you are controlling how hard your body is pushing.
And as the lead, you haven't had a chance to burn off some of that adrenaline yet this end, because you're throwing right away.
Yep. Here's a come around by the brothers team. There's 2 corner guards, blue corner guards there, and I think brothers will be taking advantage of those. Despite being yellow, you can still use a blue corner guard.
Of course.
Of course.
No sweeping yet. Aaron's just on it now.
Yep.
But not very much. They're just sort of staying close. Jen now.
Big finish with for Jen there.
I think from our angle
That looks pretty good.
it's well under cover from our angle.
I don't think it's dead buried, but it's buried enough that Hilliard would have a difficult time removing it. So Hilliard's going to play a little freezy bump here on the corner. I hear from our friend Wheezy that you could see about a quarter of it. This will be a freeze by the Hilliard team on that yellow rock just thrown by Team Brothers. That looks a little hot to me, Danielle. Heather doesn't think so. Heather's trying to make it move sideways. Good job.
Little roll, and now she's going to try and roll that right to the backing.
Unfortunately for Hilliard, there is a little yellow pocket at the back there that their blue rock now sits in front of. That'll make that rock a little bit more difficult to remove. Brothers taking a minute to think here. And we're going to take a minute to appreciate our on-ice officials. It is cold out there, and extra cold when you're just sitting around using your brain. Julie Morley and her team have been here in force all weekend, out there in the ice shed, keeping a close eye on the participants, making sure everyone is safe and fair.
Which is the job of an official.
The honor of an official.
The honor, you're right.
Brothers is going with a takeout, which, she might lose one of those yellow ones at the back, but they're not really doing her any favors right now anyway.
Really, I would not mind losing one of those at the back.
Yeah. But I don't think she's going to. I think she's going to just give this one a little chip, maybe roll out with her shooter.
I think so. It's a great stone. Moved one of them at the back, but did not lose it.
Yeah, she hit her own stone on the head with the shooter and just overlapped those 2 at the back. So
yellow is sitting 3 right now.
That's right, and with 2 blue corner guards. Is this Mackenzie Findell throwing, Danielle?
I believe so.
A couple years ago, Danielle and I took a coaching course with a really brilliant man. I can't remember his name, but he always reminded everyone to have a hook delivery, so where you would bend your wrist down and have your fingers sort of dangle for your grip. And Mackenzie Findell has a really great example of that hook grasp on her stone, where she's just holding on with her fingers. No chance of sort of having a meaty release.
I believe that was Barry Shearer.
Barry Shearer, well done, Danielle.
Thank you.
Barry Shearer
It took
and
me
his boot.
the entire length of that story to remember his name.
What a great and interesting coach. That was a really interesting experience.
It
for
was,
us.
yeah.
Anyway, she's come around to the back 8 foot there, and Brothers feels like she needs to make an attempt on that rock, and I feel like she might be right.
Well, Hilliard is currently sitting shot, so Brothers has room to just come and sort of bop it. Is that all she's doing?
I would think. Here's Aaron Carmody. Looks like they're pretty happy with it so far, waiting for it to break now that it's broken.
That is Jen Bryan.
Jen Bryan sweeping, trying to make it curl, and she does just enough to poke that blue stone out of play, and Brothers sits 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 rocks behind the tee line, though, so you can't really count on those for points.
And again, we have another rock sort of in that floating corner.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll come into play given where the other stones are, but it is interesting how many rocks we've seen sort of in that sort of what you would usually consider a dead zone behind the rocks.
Yeah, I don't think that rock this end will come into play too much, but that's sort of what I'm pointing out, how many rocks we've seen in that sort of dead zone, as you said.
Yeah. So it's really starting to look like this is going to be a force for Brothers, which means that Hilliard's going to have to score 1 point to keep Brothers from scoring a bunch, where really what Hilliard would have liked to do would be to score a multiple here, although there's still an opportunity for a multiple if they can really sink one in here, hopefully this blue rock.
So Taylor Clark has thrown, and we've got Heather Ross and Mackenzie Findell sweeping.
Heather's closer to the stone, so that indicates to me that they're trying to keep it straighter.
I think, though, that this is a little warmer than they want it to be.
Yep.
And we've got Jill sweeping it right out, I think.
Yeah, and that blue rock just glides on through the house.
Right through.
I think that might be a little bit of a quick path, that inside the 4 foot line on that side there, Daniel.
It might be. They have thrown quite a few rocks sort of in that area. And
of course, as throwers slide, they would slide through that area, which has an impact on the pebble there as well.
And there has been a lot of sweeping sort of hogline in that area, also wearing down the pebble. A little less play out in the wings, so there will be a speed difference.
And a lot less sweeping, a lot less sliding out in the wings.
Yeah.
Just a path less traveled. But of course, that's why most of the pebble goes down in the center. Here's a draw by Aaron Carmody going the other way. I think they're looking for tee line here.
Split up the house a little bit.
Yep. Both sweepers down. Jen Bryan on the inside, trying to keep it straight. I think they're going to be pretty happy with this one, though. That weight looks pretty good to me.
I think so. I think it's going to be just sort of
it's
back
going to be behind
8.
the tee line.
Yeah. I don't mind it being behind the tee line here because the hit and roll to center isn't going to give you... it's going to make you behind the tee line as well.
There's just
if that's what they decided to do.
An atypical amount of play behind the tee line here. Tanya Hilliard playing the freeze on that chunk of yellow rocks at the back. Taylor Clark in the hack for Tanya Hilliard. I think we have some history on Taylor Clark here.
Do we?
She did attend the juniors in 2013 with Mary McKetton Driscoll on the same team as current teammate Mackenzie Findell, formerly Proctor.
So a lot of teammates across all of the women's teams, former and current teammates, which is nice to see.
I think you really develop strong bonds and friendships when you spend a year traveling, playing, and practicing together. Great shot here by...
really nice shot by Taylor Clark. A really good sweep by Heather Ross and Mackenzie Findell.
Heather Mcphee.
I'm sorry, Heather Mcphee.
But we can't say we didn't warn you.
No.
So they're dead down there on the yellow ones at the back. They're going to have to lose some yellow ones to shake that blue stone, I think. Sarah Murphy, who is
holding the broom. Jill is in the hack.
I was going to say, did Sarah Murphy used to be Sarah Rhino?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm surprised I didn't figure that out like an hour ago.
Well,
because I recognize her standing there.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Jill's in the hack, trying to shake that blue one, and probably going to lose a couple yellow ones at the back there too.
Again, losing some yellow ones back there is not bad.
No.
And Jill, of course, able to throw the weight to remove those if needed.
And she's not going to score with those, which she's not right now. They're more of a prison than a benefit to her.
Jill sliding the
Entire length of the ice.
Basically, she could have slid all the way to the other hack.
Powerful slider.
Powerful leg drive, and she does all of that with her legs. No
lift delivery.
And no arm pushes either.
And she's, to be able to slide that far, I mean, like, to be an effective curler, it's not important to be able to slide the length of the ice, but for her to be able to push that strongly and slide that far speaks to her incredible balance. Like,
yes.
If you don't have a perfectly sound delivery, it's a heck of a job to be able to slide that far up the ice. Sometimes I wonder how far someone like her could slide if the ice didn't run into the other bumper.
Like if she could just keep going?
Forever and ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
A little update over on D, the men's game. Manuel got 1 in the third end, so the score is 2-1, Stevens over Manuel.
Stevens regains the hammer. That was a force.
Again, you can catch that game on Sheet D, or you could come down and watch both games at once.
If you do come down, bring some cash, because there's always people here selling 50-50 tickets for our...
junior program?
Yeah, but I was going to try to, like, say something fancy about the junior program. We did sell Sandra Schmirler tickets until yesterday morning when the draw was done. And Shirley and Al Graham were the victors. Frequent attendees of the Briar.
And Scotties.
And Scotties. Briar being held this year in Kingston, Ontario, and the Scotties. Where will that be, Danielle?
That will be in, I want to say Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
That's right, at the Mosaic Center.
At the Mosaic Center.
I was thinking last night, I wonder if they have, like, a tile mosaic.
I really hope they do.
They kind of have to. In the foyer there, some kind of elaborate pattern.
Yeah. I sort of hope that the sign that says Mosaic Center is a mosaic.
Yep.
Yep. All right, and back to our game.
Hilliard has thrown another aggressive stone on top of that pile of yellow ones at the back, trying to reduce the possible damage by Brothers here, and also forcing Brothers to remove that blue stone and shed some of her own yellow stones.
It looks to me like Brothers is still shot. The yellow one just behind the tee line, from my angle, looks...
I think you're right.
Still shot, but again, we're not at a perfect angle, and the monitor is pretty far away from us.
Okay, so Brothers is going to try to catch this one on the inside, roll her own shooter out, and hope to squeeze the blue one out the back corner there.
And not
perfectly.
losing any of her stones in the back.
Nicely done.
That was a great little chip she just threw.
So this will be a good opportunity for Hilliard, having just thrown this shot, to try to drop it in the 4-foot there and score 1 point. This is a great end for Brothers, forcing Hilliard to draw against 4.
You can see the Brothers team, those who have just swept, and Jill herself, standing up at the hog line. They're not interfering with Hilliard's team where they need to be standing or in the way of the broom, and they're standing pretty still so that they're not a distraction.
And Sarah Murphy, again, also perfectly still with her broom off the ice, standing where she can see the line of play, but where she's not interfering at all with Tanya Hilliard's shot.
This is important. Sometimes newer curlers aren't sure where they're supposed to stand.
And whole teams tend to collect behind the house, which can be very distracting to the opposing skip.
Or the opposing thrower. I guess it doesn't have to be the skip. Tanya Hilliard throwing a nice stone, ending up just outside the back 4.
But enough to get her 1, and that's a force.
That is
for Brothers. 1 point for Hilliard, making the score 3-1 after 3 ends.
And again, you'll see the teams have a little huddle.
A little debrief from that last end, what went well, what we can do better, and what we're going to do in the next end.
Maybe talking about paths in the ice, or just, let's keep going.
Just keep swimming.
Just keep sweeping. Just keep sweeping. Hi, Colleen. Our friend Colleen really is into that song.
Yeah.
Diddy, I guess.
Alright. And we're off. Brothers team still hanging out there by the hog line. No need to send anybody back there. They have enough time while the stone is traveling to get themselves together and prepare for Jen Bryan's first shot.
Something I did notice, though, was as soon as Jen Bryan finished sweeping, she did take her gripper off.
And you'll see, I think Erin Carmody's going to grab her stone for her.
No, Erin's just going to sweep the path there, but
a distribution of the work makes it easier for the team to be ready to go when it's their turn and gives everybody the opportunity to watch the previously thrown stone finish up.
yeah, because they started moving as soon as Heather released the stone, they were able to get into position before the rock finished moving.
But not before Heather released the stone. Heather still has to have the opportunity to throw her whole shot without being interfered with by the opposing team.
Of course.
Of course. This will be a corner guard, do you suppose?
I do.
I like that. Aggressive play. Corner guards usually indicate that the team hopes to score 2 points in an end. The center guard, you can see thrown here by Heather Mcphee, is an indication of a team's attempt to steal. Well, this will be a little bit deeper than a guard.
I think they're bringing it right in.
I don't think it can hurt them here. Like, they do have that 2-point advantage right now and the hammer.
It's
They'll want to keep this end fairly open.
It's just behind the tee line, and Tanya Hilliard calling a come around on her own guard. Heather
Quick to deliver. That nice release.
really a very consistent release.
Yes.
Now I wonder if this path is a little bit slower than the other path. This side, we haven't seen as much play down this path.
You know, if they get it there, this is going to be dead buried. Oh, a little spin
A little
off that
spin
guard.
off, yeah.
Not bad.
No, it was.
It even spun back a little bit at the end there. And these rocks that they're playing with are the NSCA rocks,
They are, yeah.
which are see less use than your club rocks and are often sharper. And so they'll catch little pieces of the ice that your club rocks won't always catch and do more interesting little dances for us.
I might be wrong, but I think they were sharpened before this event as well.
I'm fairly sure someone told me that the other day too. Plan to remove that rock just thrown by Heather Mcphee. Successful.
A little roll. I think they're
Kind of
rolling a
big
little
roll.
further than they had hoped.
You see Sarah Murphy hoping that would catch just the way we were talking about and spin back on the rings, but it didn't.
Tanya Hilliard calling for the hit and roll to center. Behind her guard, it will end up, if this hit and roll happens, well behind the tee line.
A southpaw in the hack here, Danielle.
Yes. Heather Mcphee on the stone right away, sweeping end to end here.
She's on the inside of the stone, so this will be an attempt to keep it straight.
And
They
Jill-
do make contact. Both stones roll out.
Jill out right away to roll that rock.
Make sure the shooter gets out. Brothers committed to keeping this end fairly clean. Now that we're into second stone, she's able to... Oh, so this is third's first stone. She's able to remove that medium length blue guard so that she's going to make sure she has an opportunity to have a look at the button on her last shot, should it prove necessary.
And roll all the way over to the rock that was sort of in the, again, dead spot.
Yeah.
And able to bounce back onto the rings.
So Yala was able to pull off a peel and a roll into the house there. Tanya Hilliard is going to deal with that yellow stone hanging on the corner there. She wants to make sure she doesn't give up a multiple here, so she doesn't want to leave any yellow stones sticking around.
You can see they elected to throw a weight that allowed them to keep the shooter and roll in.
Pretty much perfect hit and roll to the button there by Taylor Clark.
I think that was Mackenzie, wasn't it?
They've both got long blonde hair, and I can't see their names on the back of their shirts.
We're a little less familiar with the Hilliard team. I don't think either of us have called one of their games this.
No, we haven't. But we do know Heather Mcphee, and we can figure out who Tanya is because she's the skip.
So, apologies to Taylor and Mackenzie for when we.
Mix your names up.
But you're both playing great.
Yeah.
So Jill's team just removed that, and I think we'll see an exchange of hits here.
This has to be pretty much the way that Brothers wants this end to go. They've got the hammer and an even end. They want to try to see a blank here. Having the hammer and an even end early in the game like this isn't as important as later in, say, the 8th, 9th, and 10th ends. Successfully removes the rock and rolls the shooter out. Brothers wants to put this rock in a place where it's just a little more difficult for Hilliard to remove.
Aaron throwing a draw here. I'm in a bad spot. I'm finding it hard to tell how fast things are going because it looks pretty speedy to me right now.
Yeah, that looks like it's going pretty quick, Danielle. I think you've got it pretty much nailed.
Well, not good, but like
Affirmed.
There's
another yellow rock hanging out in that, what we would ordinarily consider a dead zone. Tanya Hilliard's called a draw to the top of the 4 here. It's a good time for them to start to get a sense of where the ice would be if they need to throw a draw to the button or the tee line later on in the game. This is a great opportunity to bank some knowledge and some time.
some knowledge and some time.
It's Heather Mcphee and Mackenzie Findell scrubbing away. Mackenzie's on the inside, so they're trying to keep it from over curling.
A little shy of where they had hoped.
Dead on the center guard, though, and since we're deep into the end here,
Jill's just going to remove it.
yeah. Do you want to talk about the free guard zone, Danielle?
I sure do. The free guard zone, so the first 5 rocks cannot be used to remove a rock that is in the free guard zone. And the free guard zone is anything outside the house above the tee line.
So this rule first came into curling as the 3
Rock rule.
and then 4 rock, and now we're up to 5, which is great because it keeps a lot of rocks in play. And I think that makes the game more interesting for everyone to watch. And legend has it that this was actually a game that Russ Howard would play when he was practicing at the is it Beaver Curling Club in Moncton? So they would use this as a way to make their practices more interesting.
Yeah, Russ and Glenn, I think,
Thank
together brought this to us.
That's one of the things I really love about curling, that the participants, it's still building as a culture. We're still very grassroots. Like, no one in this rink is a professional curler. Everyone has a day job, and everyone is someone who you could find yourself on the ice with one evening in a Wednesday night draw.
Yeah.
It's great to see, your neighbors competing at national and international levels.
Yeah.
In
For
a
sure.
sport that we all love.
Now they are trying to draw up to the rock that is in what we would call the dead zone here, Denise.
Well, it does, give the opportunity for error error, as unlikely as it is. And you got to take advantage of whatever materials you have available to you. And so Hilliard throwing that pretty perfect weight draw. A little bounce at the back, but that yellow rock is catching the blue rock now.
I think that Jill could throw the... I just got distracted because for the first time tonight I've realized that this morning we were here last night. It's very confusing for me. I've realized that Sarah Murphy is holding the broom and Erin Carmody is sweeping.
Oh, I was confused by that too.
And so I kept looking at the sheet being like, have we been calling people in the wrong order? But we're not.
No, they're
just
making best use of their resources. So
which I think is great.
You'll find Sarah Murphy has quite a bit of experience in the house, and maybe she's a little more comfortable there, and Erin Carmody's a little more comfortable sweeping. It's great when teams can be flexible, identify where their strengths are, and make best use of them.
And it's possible that Jill is more comfortable with one of them in one of the places as well.
Yep.
I think what I was going to say before that was Jill's trying to pick that out, and maybe
she does.
Maybe she could have been trying to stick on the yellow one there. It's been moved back just a little bit. I don't know if you could see Taylor Clark trying to check and see if a rock sitting on it would be in the house or not.
I think Taylor and Tanya agreed that playing that same freeze is not going to get them the benefit that they want. So we're looking at a draw to the button here by Tanya Hilliard. She's going to want to put that on the button so that when Jill Brothers makes her attempt to remove it for the blank, she has to roll further in order to achieve the blank. Good communication between the sweepers and the person in the house. Even though there's not a lot of concern for line, it's important to, maintain that line of communication so the back end knows what the front end knows, and vice versa.
This sliding to bite the back of the 8-foot, it's a lovely shot. It does give Jill a little bit of an angle to get the roll out for the blank, though.
And you saw Jill have a little glance at that rock in the dead zone there and make sure they aren't going to look at jamming on that when the shooter goes to roll out. But I don't think it'll be a concern. But it's interesting that she just gave it a little bit of a side eye there. Jill making sure her rock is nice and clean, preparing.
She has the same routine, and I guess that's why it's called a routine, every time.
Which, if you're trying to develop yourself into a more effective curler, no matter what level, a pre-shot routine in any sport is incredibly helpful. It helps calm you down, gives you a moment to center yourself.
It's also important if you are doing a pre-shot routine in curling, for example, for it to not take a really long time.
Excellent point. I was just thinking that.
You want it to be efficient, and you don't want any extra parts to it.
No, your pre-shot routine should basically be clean your rock, line yourself up, take a breath, and go. But if you put ritual and value into each of those actions, it really becomes a useful tool for consistency.
It does, yeah.
Team meetings here in between ends, another useful tool for consistency. You can see on both teams, all members of the team are participating and included, which is, curling is a team sport, and every position has something essential to contribute. You can't
out-count anyone.
Yeah.
And sometimes team meetings might be used to, loosen up, joke around a little bit.
Yeah, you might be planning what's happening in the next end. You also might be deciding what kind of topics you're going to want on your pizza later on.
Yeah.
Not essential that every moment spent together is, critical game decisions. Sometimes it's just important to be, bonding and arguing about whether pineapple belongs on a pizza or not.
Which it does.
It totally does.
Yep.
All right, Heather's in the hack.
Again, wasting no time.
See, Jill's shaking her hand down there. I would suspect that she's got a hand warmer in her mitten, but
I would suspect as well.
those things are lifesavers.
They are, but you do not want them getting on the ice.
No, not just because Tracy Froud will end you, but because they do damage to the ice surface, and that is something that's shared between both teams.
Both teams in the game you're currently playing, but all teams when you consider...
Yeah, for the remainder of the event.
Yeah.
Perfect center guard by Heather Mcphee. Like, there couldn't be a more perfect center guard than what she just threw. That split the center lines so exactly that I think the handle runs dead down the center line there.
Heather is such a consistent player.
And that's what you want in a lead, somebody that can just place rocks as though they had gone down there, slid them, and placed them with their hands themselves.
Yeah.
Erin Carmody playing the... Is that a come around?
Well, Erin Carmody is on the sheet. This is Jen.
Sorry, Jen Bryan.
Yeah.
Playing the come around, a little bit of a rub off the front one there and slides right through the house. That is the same place where we've seen a couple rocks go probably a little bit further than we wanted them to.
A little bit stronger than I think she planned to be, but...
Here is the ever-consistent Heather Mcphee playing a come around.
They're on it right out of her hand, a little off and on. Seeing...
And that's how you know that a stone is pretty close to the right weight when sweepers can't decide what they want to do with it.
I think you might see them
This
try...
will be a second guard here.
Which is not bad.
Nope. It's an aggressive play, and they need to score some points here. They need to steal.
An update on Sheet D in the men's game. Stevens getting 2 in the fourth end. The score now is 4-1 over Manuel.
Good job.
Thanks.
Jen Bryan, come around. They're throwing that other turn where we haven't seen what I suspect to be a slide path.
I do not.
Will that dig in, Daniel?
I think it will.
Really nice finish there.
I think it's going to dig in,
Tanya's trying to encourage it to go a little further, but...
ending up back 4. So we are behind the tee line.
And Tanya is asking Mackenzie Findell for a freeze on that stone just thrown by the brothers team. There's that great hook grip that we were talking about before. Such a nice release, consistent. Letting it move a little bit. Heather's close there, ready to sweep if necessary.
Just trying to
Big
get some finish off
here.
it. I think there's going to be a little bounce, so
Little
there's some
bounce.
separation.
But that blue stone is definitely still in control of the yellow stone.
The blue stone biting the back of the button, and the yellow now back 8.
Brothers looking to remove the
2 lovely guards.
lovely. Brothers does need to open up here the front of the house so that she has access to the button at the end of the end. You want to make sure you're not putting yourself in a situation to have to make a circus shot to score. She wants to make sure that she maintains control. They do successfully peel that front guard, but didn't quite get the second one. Their shooter rolls into pretty great corner guard position. Tanya Hilliard electing to replace the recently removed center guard.
I wouldn't be surprised if we do see that corner guard, the newly placed corner guard, come into use at some point here.
Yep, that's definitely a great leave by the
By brothers.
brothers team.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody's got blue jackets on, Danielle.
They do have similar...
That's because everybody's trying to have blue jackets on.
Yeah.
And by that I meant wear the Nova Scotia uniform, which is a blue jacket. Oh, almost gets by.
I got what you were saying there. Those of you at home might not have.
They're picking up what we're putting down.
I should hope so.
All right. Brothers planning to remove that blue stone just thrown by the Hilliard team. Looking at a possible double there, but I don't think that that's the way they're going to go.
Removing the yellow one in the back is not...
Not the end of the world.
No, not the end of the world at all.
So if they rattle some stuff around and that yellow one squirts out, not a big deal. They can't count on it for points, so all it's really doing now is favors for the other team. It's hard sometimes when you're new to curling or thinking about how things will go. If you see a rock of your own and then you kind of think, you know, that guy's my friend because he's got my colors on, but sometimes he's just not doing you a favor anymore, and he's doing more work for the other team than for your team.
In chess, you would say you had to sacrifice the pawn.
Sacrifice. Yes.
So Sarah Murphy throwing a nice shot there, just missing the double, but removing the top blue.
There'll be an attempt here by the Hilliard team to remove that recently thrown yellow stone. I think they're going to want to try to squeeze that out in the direction away from the button and leave their blue stone in its place.
I think they probably a little flop to center.
I love the dots on the Hilliard jerseys. It's just kind of cute and different.
I also noticed on the Hilliard jackets, they have their names down the sleeve.
Yeah, that's neat, especially if you have long hair like they do.
Yeah. Now, when they just have their t-shirts on, they do not have their names down the sleeve.
And that's why we can't tell anybody's name.
Yeah.
Great hit and roll here by Clark. Probably not where they meant to leave that stone, but it's definitely protected behind that yellow corner guard. An aggressive play.
I think we'll see Brothers try and run that again.
She definitely wants to try to score 2 here, and that blue center guard is not doing her any favors. Perfectly placed early in the end by Heather Mcphee.
Erin Kermody. They're on it right out of her hand.
All the way, all the way.
Erin, another...
She's got it. Will she get the back as well? She does make contact with the back rock and move both of the blue stones from the center, making them available, but doesn't remove any blue stones. Hilliard's sitting 3 right now.
Hilliard's sitting 3 right now. I was going to say Erin also sliding from one end to the other. So another
great strength and great balance.
Another example of great strength and balance.
This will be a draw by Taylor Clark. Aggressive play by the Hilliard team. I think that's necessary at this juncture. They want to try to steal a couple or force Brothers to one.
Sweepers staying close, but not on it yet. Jill there, though, ready to bring it back as far as she can.
Trying to drag it past the tee line there, and it stays.
It stays pretty much right on the
Dead
button.
on the button there. She wins the turkey.
There is a double that Jill's looking at.
She's just got to get the finest amount of that blue one on the button and then try to rack it sideways into the blue one on the edge of the forefoot. She could go the other way, of course, hitting the one on the button almost sideways out of its nesting spot.
Which have they decided to hit first?
I think they're hitting the outside one first, but...
and just flopping?
Yeah, and sort of doing that sideways motion that we were talking about. It's hard to tell because, like, that was the last thing she indicated. She has given... I think it has to be the outside first. We'll see when she lets go of the rock, though. No, we're playing the inside first. No brooms down yet.
Brooms.
There's Sarah.
I think that they need, from our angle, I'm very worried about that guard.
No,
I guess I don't need
what
to
a great
be, but
shot.
That was a great shot.
Super double. Lots of power in that.
Yeah, great sweep.
Yep.
Sort of a little hip bump, I guess.
Yeah.
Or ping pong around. Yeah.
Exactly. Hilliard gets the broom down quickly. They'll be eliminating that yellow rock and hoping to roll behind the 2 yellow guards in the front. We did talk about leaving the front open being in Brothers' interests. Brothers does have the controlling yellow guard there, so if it were necessary, she does have the opportunity to tap without too much obstruction.
Yeah.
Here comes Tanya. Sweepers are down, trying to make it curl. Will we get the inside? Dead on the nose, but they
do end up removing one of their back rocks. They are sitting 2 right now, though.
I think they would have probably liked to keep that one hanging around, but it wasn't hurting them. But the most important thing there was to remove that shooter counting yellow rock.
Yeah.
Jill Brothers will play pretty much the same shot here with an emphasis on that roll to the center. Hoping to still leave herself an opportunity to get 2. A perfect roll here would certainly put her in a good position. A couple more people out in the ice shed. I remind you, if you are going to come down here and watch live, which I encourage you to do because it is a good time, make sure you bring some warm clothing because it is an ice shed.
If you're going to sit outside.
Those bleachers are metal, so don't be afraid to bring a blanket to sit on.
Those bleachers are metal and have been
Have been sitting in the ice shed for like a week now.
Yeah. I know that they were out there.
Big roll here. Too far. A little encouragement from the Hilliard team.
That spun back a little bit too.
Successful removal of the blue rock, but blue does still sit 1. Another thing about the bleachers, if you do decide to come down here, is to make sure that you remember there is a rubberized path in between the bleachers. Don't try to enter the bleachers from the ice because
it's ice.
Yeah, it's slippery. More slippery than these curlers make it look. There is a safe way to enter. Do try to identify that. Alright, draw here by Tanya Hilliard. Sweepers are ready. Stopwatches in hand. You want to talk about the stopwatches a little bit, Daniel?
Sure. Teams will time from different points. Oftentimes it's either the back line to the hog line or the tee line to the hog line. It gives you an idea of how fast the ice is and how fast the person who just threw the rock has put the rock into motion. When I'm playing in the house, I like to time hog line to hog line to get sort of an idea of how fast the ice is running.
And why do you choose hog to hog when you're in the house?
I find it easier to see when you cross the hog line than when you cross the tee line.
Just because it's closer, a bigger line. And
yeah.
And so, do you just use times as predictive of that stone, or are they useful for other things?
You sort of build a database in your brain of how the ice is running and what each path is doing.
And so it's useful for guessing how far each individual stone will go, but also useful when you go to throw your next rock to say, like, I want to throw a 350 here. And with practice, you can push the right amount to throw a 350, and then it just kind of gives you something in your brain to measure against instead of just sort of throwing stones blindly.
For muscle memory.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, here's Jill Brothers with a draw to the 4-foot. This will be a force for the Hilliard team if Brothers makes it, and if Brothers were to not outscore the blue stone that's biting the 8-foot there, then it would be a steal for Hilliard.
Sweepers giving it some attention. They don't seem to be panicked about it. She really does have all of the 8-foot to work with here.
It's pretty good. The team seems pretty happy with it.
I think they'll want to get it as close to the button as they can.
Just for that memory database that Danielle was talking about. Perfect draw to the button by Jill Brothers.
They do put it right on the pot, so that's another one for Jill.
force by Hilliard. They've got to be happy with the result of that end. The score is now 4-1 for Brothers over Hilliard
After 5 ends. So we will be going on to our 5th end break now. We'll be back in
4 minutes and 58 seconds.
I expect we'll be back before the 58 seconds, but see you soon.
And then I'll plug that one in to get it charged.
Welcome back, sports fans. We are throwing the first stone in the second half of the game.
And this is the 2020 Nova Scotia Scotties Playdowns. This is the tiebreaker for the 3-4 team. Winner plays Team Colleen Jones this evening for the opportunity to play Marianne Arsenal in the final. Winners of the final head to the Mosaic Center in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
No, go ahead.
For the 2020 Canadian Women's Curling Championship, which will be held February 16th, 23rd.
An update, we've got Team Jill Brothers at 4 and Team Tanya Hilliard at 1 after 5 ends. I'm with Denise Nicholson.
And I'm with Danielle Nicholson.
So if it sounds like one person talking to themselves.
That's pretty much what's happening.
An update over on Sheet D, the men's tiebreaker game. We've got Team Manual scoring 2 in the 5th end. So Stevens at 4 and Manual at 3.
That's a nice close game.
It is a nice close game. Taylor Ardeel, the lead for Team Manual, is the coach for Team Brothers. So he'll be, I expect, keeping
Pretty close tabs on what's going on the sheet next to him, I expect.
but still staying focused.
Absolutely.
He is the alternate for the Manual team, but stepping into play this week.
As we've mentioned earlier, all curlers, even at this high level, are amateurs. There's no professional curlers, and so sometimes it's difficult for someone to get the week off work to be able to participate in an event of this length, despite its caliber.
Especially younger curlers who are maybe
Just getting
starting out in their
just
new
getting
jobs and
established in their
stuff.
careers. Exactly.
Listening to Nancy Delahunt and her commentary over the last couple of days, she did talk about how it's sometimes hard to translate your junior success into not senior success because there is a division for seniors.
But Scotties levels, or tanker levels.
Yeah, and that can be hard for curlers.
But I think if you take a look out here this evening, you see a lot of people who experienced great success in their junior careers carrying through into adult curling.
Yep. We were here last night and realized that it is now morning, but to us it's just an extension of the games we called last night. So when we get our times wrong, we know we're wrong. We have Jill Brothers' team sitting 3 right now, and Tanya Hilliard asking Mackenzie Findell to throw a draw in here. Both sweepers sweeping pretty hard, trying to get by this guard. I think it's going to come up just a little short. Again, there are only 2 games out here right now, and for the last week it has been a full slate of 4 games, and in the evenings at least, quite a few people in the stands. Today there are 3 people in the stands and only 2 games out, so it's a little bit colder and the ice might be a little bit stiffer.
If you're planning on coming down to watch some live curling action, I encourage you to do so, because this is a very affordable way to see some of the top teams in the country really competing at a high level to represent their province. I encourage you to take the opportunity to sit out in the ice shed, but if you're going to do that, dress warmly, because it is an ice shed. Bring a blanket to sit on, some hats, some mitts,
No flash photography,
No
however.
flash photography. That includes your cell phone because that flash is distracting.
And if you are going to sit on the bleachers, remember there is a safe way to get on the bleachers. There's a walkway in between them. Try not to step on the ice because it is slippery.
If you're coming down to the Dartmouth Curling Club today, reminder to not park in the
Weekend market parking lot,
which formerly the
Value Village.
and prior to that the liquor store. The weekend market is open today, being as it's a weekend,
And tomorrow.
and tomorrow.
But the Dartmouth Curling Club parking lot behind the ice shed is available, and some street parking as well.
That stone's gonna glide just a little too far to be counting. Brother's sitting 1, 2, 3 right now.
Should we go over who's on each team?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Okay,
I've got brother. Oh, you go ahead.
I've got Tanya Hilliard's team right in front of me. The lead is Heather Mcphee, second Mackenzie Findell, third Taylor Clark, skip Tanya Hilliard. They're representing the Dartmouth Curling Club, and their coach is Paul Hilliard, who is sitting just a few chairs away from us right now.
And Team Brothers is lead Jen Bryan, second Sarah Murphy, third Erin Carmody, and skips Jill Brothers. Coach Taylor Adriel, who Danielle mentioned, is playing lead on the adjacent sheet. No alternate listed for that team, but I imagine they'll be able to scrape someone up should they prove to be the successful winners of this event. Yeah, I really stepped on that one. All right.
I think now's a pretty good time to give another shout out to Tracy Froud, the ice maker for Dartmouth Curling Club and this event, and also his team of ice minions.
Ice minions.
It just came out of my mouth.
Matt and Gary, they've all three been here the whole week, really contributing to consistent ice surface, working hard to make this the best possible surface for the athletes to compete on.
Another person we should talk about is Lynn Burgess, who has been the chair for this event for all 3 years it's been hosted by the Dartmouth Curling Club. You can't have a event like this without a great team of volunteers, and that team can't be a great team without a great leader. So thanks to Lynn Burgess and her team.
And this event, although is 7 days of action, takes months of planning and organization. So it's really a serious commitment by the leadership team, and we appreciate everything that they put into making sure that this great week can happen for the curlers and the fans. Jill's going down to have a little chat with Erin about what their plan's going to be. They are going to want to try to score a couple here,
And
steal a couple here.
Sarah and Jen just coming up to be involved. I think another group of people we should thank are the members of the Dartmouth Curling Club.
They do give up their ice
For a full week. They take a break from curling so that we can host such great curlers at our club.
And you'll see a lot of the members of the Dartmouth Curling Club taking this opportunity to come and volunteer and participate and watch the games. It's a great community builder, even though it means some time off the ice for the membership.
So again, brothers team sitting 3 right now, just having a little chat, deciding what to do next. They do have thinking time, so their clock would be running right now. I am just at a bad angle to see how much time there is, but I will get you an update on that.
She's really committed to this timing update. All right, here's Erin Carmody in the hack. This looks like it's going to be a draw to the top of the house. Protect that yellow rock that's at the back of the 4 there. Jill Brothers either wants to steal a couple here or force Tanya Hilliard to 1 point and get the hammer back going into the 7th end.
Team Hilliard has 20 minutes and change on their clock, and Brothers has 22 minutes and change, starting out with 38 minutes of thinking time.
So they've used significantly less than half of their time in the first half of the game, which is really what you want to see. You want to bank, as Danielle says, that time for use later in the game when shots get more complicated and there is more thinking involved.
We are playing 10-end games. We just came back from our 5th end break. And we've talked about the thinking time. Another thing that teams have are 2 timeouts each per game.
We haven't seen any timeouts used so far in this game.
Usually they're saved for the second half, really the second half of the game.
Yeah, you see them used in 8, 9, if it gets real complicated, and then usually they might be used in the 10th end. Although many games, none of the timeouts are used. Taylor Clark making her way down, getting the hack there, discussing the forthcoming shot with her teammates, making sure everybody understands what's about to happen. That's an important aspect of being on a team. Great communication there.
And making sure everyone is on the same page as well.
Exactly. There's nothing scarier than expecting a draw and all of a sudden the thrower blasts by you with peel weight and you're like, what's even happening right now?
Oh, I was supposed to be sweeping that.
But that would never happen at this level. Everybody's pretty keyed into what's happening.
Yep. Are we throwing the double here?
I don't think so. Clearly we aren't keyed into what's happening. We're going to try to squeak past that front one and get a piece of the one that's on the forefoot, but it does look like they're going to make some movement on that front one.
Mcphee running out to sweep the yellow one.
The yellow one does kind of kick into the full 12-foot there. Fortunately for Hilliard, they do have a blue full 12 at the back, so Brothers continues to sit 3, Hilliard 4, and Brothers 5, and wow, Hilliard 6. There are a lot of stones in the house right now.
There are. We haven't seen lots of stones in the house for most ends.
Yeah, it's been a pretty clean game so far. Jill with a little wardrobe change down there. Sometimes it gets cold out there and skips have to put on extra clothing, but you want to be comfortable and flexible as possible when it's your turn to throw.
So we'll see. Well, it is chilly. Jill taking off her sort of outer jacket to throw and then putting it back on during the end.
Here's Jill with that super smooth delivery.
I think oftentimes after 5th end or during 5th end break, teams or players will put on their extra layer again just to keep their muscles warm.
Yeah, you sometimes come inside and get a little bit warm, and then you go outside and it seems much, much colder, and you don't want to end up, uncomfortable. So that pretty perfect draw. Big piece of the 8-foot there.
So Brothers sitting 4.
Covering their most likely scoring stone, which is on the back of the 4-foot. Now Hilliard's got to figure out how to shake that loose and give herself a chance to score.
What would you do here?
Oh, I don't know. It's so hard. Because say she plays that long, sort of straight double there.
Yeah.
Her shooter is not going to be second or even third shot. That does seem to be what she's doing. So maybe she's hoping make this double, have her shooter roll sort of towards these.
Under the corner guards, maybe?
Yeah, under the D in Deloitte. Because she has to do a lot of things with this stone. She's got to keep it in play, and she's got to remove 1 or 2 other stones with it. So
does this blue one in the back corner come into play at all?
Well, If they were playing the double the other way and that front yellow stone were going to be hitting the inside of the back yellow stone, then I would be concerned that there might be a jam there. But the way that they've got this set up, they seem to be hitting the inside of the front yellow stone, which will force it to hit the outside of the back yellow stone. I don't think there's a concern for a jam on that blue in the corner.
Wonderful.
The stone's in motion, sweepers are down. They've hit it pretty much nose. They did manage to remove 2 stones. Certainly a better situation for Hilliard, although
Brothers is sitting 1 for sure, and from here it is hard to tell if Hilliard or Brothers is second shot.
Brothers is certainly going to behave as though that blue Hilliard stone is second shot, because even if it weren't, it would still be the stone that Hilliard could most easily use to score a point later in the end. So I think you'll see Brothers eliminate that stone pretty quick here. Sarah Mcphee holding the broom in the agreed upon location.
And Aaron Carmody, who does throw third stones, sweeping for Jill. Again, it is nice to see teams play to their strengths here.
Making best use of their players where they are most effective. Jill with her perfectly consistent routine. And that's solid delivery.
Contact with first and second.
What a huge double by Brothers there.
Great shot by Jill, rolling
To the 12 foot, leaving the center of the rings open, but that's, inviting Hilliard to that draw to the button without any real opportunity for backing, which is exactly the kind of force that you want to see. This is 1 stone versus 4 stones. She really needs to have this stop on the full 8, or preferably with a piece of the 4, to prevent the other team from scoring 4 points.
because there is a rock in the 8 foot, fairly close to the 12 foot, but in the 8 foot, so she needs a big chunk of the 8 if she's not getting to the 4.
She's going to want to see red paint here for sure.
I would say.
My dad would describe this as the possibility for a 5-point swing. Either Hilliard's going to get her 1 here, which we hope for her, or if she were to not be successful in this draw, every point that the other team scores is a point she's not scoring. That
is a 5-point swing.
But I think that we're going to see a real clutch draw from Hilliard here. Her team's working on that.
Both sweepers down all the way.
Easy, girls. Easy.
I think it's going to be back 4 on its own. They've moved it before it came to rest, but
I conceded 1 point for Hilliard,
yeah.
making the score 4 for Brothers, 2 for Hilliard. Brothers leads after 6 ends.
And as we've seen before, teams having a little conversation, Brothers team having a little huddle.
They're very consistent in that huddle. Even the location of the huddle is the same after each end.
Mostly Hilliard's team electing not to do it this end.
And this has got to be, this huddle discussion thing has to be something that's discussed beforehand and practiced. It's not something that just
happens naturally.
That's right. Heather Mcphee. Is that rock in motion?
Very consistent this game, Heather has been.
Consistent she has been.
Again, pretty much a perfect center guard. Maybe a foot outside the rings.
That's exactly where you want that center guard to be if you're hoping to steal.
I would love to give you an update on Sheet D. They have not finished their 6th end yet.
I know, every time our end ends and there's that 30 seconds in between, I'm like, update. But sometimes that's not a possibility.
They did go on break just shortly after we did, so the the game is a little bit staggered. But as soon as they post a score, I'll let you... One of us will tell you what's happening.
That's right. So, a draw to the edge of the 8-foot there for Brothers. Aggressive play. And here's Heather Mcphee with I don't know if this is going to be a come around or another center guard, Danielle. I missed what Tanya indicated there.
I missed it as well. I was distracted by Taylor Clark putting on another outside jacket. They are sweeping pretty hard right now. Mackenzie Findell trying to get some curl on this.
And we can tell that Mackenzie's trying to establish some curl because she's sweeping from the direction from which the rock is curling, or on the high side of the rock. And so the science of it is that the most pressure is from the sweep away from the body, and that would encourage the rock to curl in that direction. So you'll see if a team wants a stone to curl, the sweeper closer to the stone will sweep from the high side, and if they want a stone to stay straight, the sweeper closer to the stone will be on the low side, or the side to which the rock is curling. And if they want the rock to go further, then everybody's going to sweep from wherever they are.
It turns out that Taylor Clark was just transporting Tanya Hilliard's jacket to her.
So she wore it down there.
Yep.
That's effective.
It is effective. Good use of time.
Good use of your resources.
Yeah.
Taylor Clark's wearing short sleeves right now, so I guess she didn't really need that jacket. Tanya Hilliard asking Mackenzie Findell for the takeout here. It's funny, some games you call everybody by their first name, some games you call everybody by their last name, and in this game we're calling everybody by their full name.
Yeah.
Consistency. Little roll there? No.
No
Dead
roll.
on the nose, but I think they can be pretty happy with that. Those are both useful blue stones at the front of the house, so much so that Jill Brothers deciding to deal with the one just thrown by Mackenzie.
A little hidden roll here. Jill Brothers' team still sitting shot over in the corner, a yellow rock above the tee line, sort of half in the 12 and half in the 8-foot.
I like in curling that we say things are in corners when
It's
everything
round.
is round.
Yeah.
That rock's in the corner. There was a corner freeze. There's no corners.
There are no corners.
All right. Little roll here.
No
Nope,
roll.
Dead on the nose.
From here, it does not look like that's biting, but they're having a look.
Tanya's reaction makes me think it's not biting. She's going to make a play on that rock that's out in the corner. Probably an attempt to hit and roll behind those two center-ish guards.
On sheet D, Chad Stevens getting another 2. The score going to 6-3 over Matt Manuel.
That's a big deuce. I said that.
I was just going to let it go.
There's that great hook delivery by Mackenzie.
Find out.
There's just so many fewer errors that you can make in your release when you've got your hand way above the stone like that. That's a major factor in this level of performance, is reducing the possibility for error. It's not just doing it right, it's putting yourself in a position where it's difficult or, if not impossible, to do it wrong. Joe Brothers attempting to remove the blue center guard, put up earlier in the end by Heather Mcphee. Erin Carmody sweeping to keep that one straight.
Pretty
Letting
much
it go now.
all the way down. She did let it go.
Oh,
Bopping their yellow
out the
through
back.
the house, and Erin trying to sweep that other yellow as far over as she can, keeping the house as open as possible.
So I would think that, given that Brothers has the hammer now, and they've made these actions to clear out the front of the house, they're looking for the blank here.
I would say now that there's an empty house.
And we're getting just now into Mate's Stone, so for Brothers to make a decision early in the end that they're looking for a blank is, that's another just reason why they're playing at this level. Sorry about the quacking. is that they're able to think ahead, make a plan for what they want to do for the end. Danielle's dying from that quacking now. This is why they don't pay us. All right, super shot by Taylor Clark. Oh, the line was great, but it drifted right through the house. That's too bad.
Jill did have to sweep that. She did have to
Make a little polish.
make an effort to get that through.
And Jill's going to see that as an opportunity to maybe sneak a 2 out here. So she's going to throw a stone into the meat there in the 12-foot and hope that Hilliard struggles to get it out. That's the only way that they're gonna get 2 is if with an open end like this is if there's a major error on behalf of the Hilliard team.
Now, Aaron did sweep that corner guard on the other side way over to the side of the sheet. You wouldn't think about coming behind that?
I think that if they're going to try to come behind that, then that's sort of an invitation for Hilliard to figure out a way to get a steal here.
Okay.
Or to force Brothers into a force. If rocks start building up behind that yellow corner guard, that's not the situation that Brothers wants to be in. Brothers wants a clean, open house here so that the possibility of a blank is easily attained.
Cool. Taylor Clark being asked to remove this stone.
I want to say about Mackenzie Findell and her hook release, there's probably lots of people who have a great hook release like that, but since she's left-handed, it's really easy for me to see that her grip from where I'm sitting, and so, I mean, it's fantastic and I admire it, but there's probably got lots of other great grips out there that I just can't see because they're all right-handed.
And we are, again, we're sitting behind sheet B.
To the left if you're going towards the boards, and so
looking at sheet C. So we can't really see from this end the thrower's hand when they're a right-handed player. Yeah. Good shot
Just
by Aaron Carmody.
exchange of rocks there.
Good concentration. There was some broom slippage out of Taylor Clark's hand there while she was in the hack.
Oh no.
I think that, you know how sometimes it's in your hand and the next thing you know it's not in your hand?
Bouncing off somebody else's shoe? Yes,
Yeah.
I'm familiar with that.
Me too. But good concentration by Aaron to make that shot.
Great.
Tanya Hilliard just going to throw a hit.
I would expect to see Tanya have this stone roll into the 12-foot, so it's a little bit more challenging for Brothers to remove, but they want to keep their shooter in play for sure.
Into the 12-foot or into the 4-foot?
I would, given the ice, expect to see it roll into the 12-foot, but Heather's sweeping it to make a curl. And a little roll. Stays more or less where it was before.
Yeah. And Jill just going to remove it. Again, she does have on that outside jacket, so her routine is going to take just a little bit longer than it usually does.
So they've got the ice right on the stone here. I think we'll see an exchange of rocks. What Jill really doesn't want to have happen here is for Hilliard to have the opportunity to remove this stone that Jill's about to throw and roll behind that yellow corner guard that hung on there. Jill wants to have the easiest possible shot to remove the Hilliard rock to ensure the blank at the end of the end.
And again, this is a path that we haven't seen a whole lot come down. So she'll probably throw a little bit more weight here. Not too much, though.
So a blank is valuable because when you have last rock, you really want to score 2 points. And if you're not going to score 2 points, if you're only going to score 1 point, then you want to hang on to that last rock advantage until you have the opportunity to score those 2 points. And a blank is the tool that you use to accomplish that.
So Jill throwing a nice hit there, hitting it nose, not getting any roll. And Tanya going to also try to remove this rock.
Everyone's looking a little chilly out there right now.
Yeah.
It's quite warm in the clubhouse, so I wonder if they came in, got warm, and then went back out there and got cold. 10 ends is a long time, though, so they could just be, cold from being out there.
Cold from being out there, and as we've said a couple times, there are fewer bodies out there, so it's going to be colder out there than it usually is.
Here's Tanya.
Tanya electing to throw with her outer jacket on. But I think it's just a matter of what you're comfortable in.
I think it's not uncommon for her to do that. You have to have a jacket that you're comfortable throwing.
Yeah.
And I would always take my jacket off. Alright, successfully replaces stones, and here we're going to see Brothers remove that blue stone and attempt to roll out. The blank is what we're looking for here. Some complicated thinking going on over there on D, while Jill prepares to throw her stone here.
Again, if you are wanting to know what's happening on D in more detail, you can tune in to the other broadcast just by clicking Sheet D on your website there, or you could come down and watch both games in person. Indeed. And Jill throwing, I don't know.
They didn't manage to roll out, so that's effectively a force for Hilliard. The score is now 5-2 for Brothers after 7 ends. Hilliard taking the hammer into the 8th.
And both teams having their huddle.
Often it's considered a strategic advantage, especially before the change to the from the 4 rock rule to the 5 rock rule, to carry that hammer into the even ends at the end of the game. And statistics aren't telling us how much of an advantage that is now with the 5 rock rule, but in the past this would be considered a huge boon to the Hilliard team.
I don't think we've had the 5 rock rule.
Yeah, there's just not enough data to make it.
We're still building the statistics.
As if we're building the statistics.
Well, we aren't, but
Someone's
the curling world, are still gathering statistics.
Correct. All right.
Let's say statistics a few more times.
All right. We got Jen, Brian, and the hack ready to go. Probably Jill's putting her jacket back on.
I would guess it's
Taking a minute to just sort of gather themselves entering this 8th end. They are up by 3 points, which is significant, but I think the blank would have been their preferred result in that last end. So
this game we've seen only one end with a multiple point score.
And that was the first end for Brothers.
There has been one blank that was in the 4th end, but besides that, everything's just been ones.
1-1-1.
Which, considering the number of rocks we've seen in play, and how often it's been just one team's rocks sitting multiple, it's nice to see teams being able to get back and just get the one, or give the one.
Yeah, the skips and the mates are really performing to get their teams out of trouble then. Here's Heather Mcphee, corner guard.
The front end is, for both teams, are playing quite well.
Not to undersell the front end. I mean, they're the ones that are getting their teams in the situation to be sitting multiples, but there have been some clutch shots to get people out of trouble. Pretty much perfect shot here by Heather Mcphee, right on the D in Deloitte. Jill Brothers is calling a center guard to complement the existing stone in the house.
Stone in the house is just biting the top 4 right on the center line. Jen Bryan threw a lovely shot. Looking for another one.
There will be another tiebreaker this afternoon at 2 o'clock. The winner of this men's game will play Stuart Thompson for the opportunity to play... I've lost my spot. Oh, for the opportunity to play this evening. In that would be effectively the same game that the women are playing right now. So if you want to come on down here to the Dartmouth Curling Club at 35 Canal Street this afternoon to check out that men's game, that'll probably be a pretty interesting time.
This rock by Jen Bryan, not quite curling all the way to center line, but is in a good spot, I think.
Still covering a lot of that yellow rock at the back, but Hilliard bravely making an attempt at the rock in the house. If they remove the guard that was just thrown, I don't think they're going to be too disappointed.
As our former teammate Sarah Cluett would say, it's visual. It's something that they have.
Visual.
It's something they have to look at in order to get to the rock that they're trying to remove.
Yep. As I was saying, if you're going to come down here to the Dartmouth Curling Club this afternoon, remember that you cannot park at the weekend market. You can only park in the other available spots, which are street parking on Canal Street or in the Dartmouth Curling Club parking lot.
Possibly in the Moffat's parking lot as well.
Possibly a Moffat's. Although they are open today, so don't take all their spots.
No. It is, however, where we parked. Sarah Mcphee throwing a hit here. Erin Carmody sweeping.
Trying to keep it straight, get past that front yellow guard.
I think they're well by from my angle.
Yep. Where will this roll be? A little bit too far, but my goodness.
That's a nice shot.
That's a great shot now.
And great weight. It's not too much. They're able to control it.
And that's really the key with your hits. You want to make sure that it's enough weight to do the job, but no more than that. You want to match force so that your team still has the opportunity to use their brooms to make any necessary edits to your thrown shot.
Tanya Hilliard asking for a double on the outside this time.
I'm frankly excited to see this shot thrown.
As am I.
I saw it there and I was like, gee whiz, I hope she throws this, and here we go.
Gee whiz.
That's how I felt. Solid weight. Sweeper's trying to make it come up a little bit.
Taylor Clark
Now
switching
Heather's
with
trying
Heather.
to get it by. Oh, so close.
Very close.
But that leave is still great. That's still, that blue rock is in an attack position. It could easily be tapped or run back onto that yellow rock in the center.
Now, last night's game, you and I were watching Colleen Jones and Marianne Arsenault.
Great game.
What?
It was a great game.
It was a great game. And we noted a couple times how the sweepers, instead of switching off, would just swing around to the other side.
We haven't seen that as much in this game as we
No.
did last night. And I wonder, like everything, if that's a skill that they work on in practice and then bring into a game, and perhaps these teams haven't introduced that skill into their practice just yet.
Perhaps. A nice shot by Sarah Mcphee, hitting and rolling to the center.
So since Brothers doesn't have last rock here, they want to control the center of the field of play with guards so that it's difficult for Hilliard to have an easy shot to get out of the end. Brothers is certainly interested in the steal or force here, but I think a steal is probably foremost in Brothers' mind right now, especially since they've got that one yellow one kind of on the pot here. But like we talked about earlier, Hilliard does have the opportunity to make use of their most recently thrown blue stone to either raise or run back into that yellow stone that's on the tee line.
Which they're about to do. It's pretty much the same shot that
Was just
Mackenzie Findell just threw.
Yep. Seemed like they had a little more ice. The sweepers are certainly working a little bit harder on it. Heather's on the inside, so they're kind of trying to keep it straight. And they do. What a great run back.
That was a great shot.
Super shot called by Tanya Hilliard, thrown by
Mackenzie Findell.
and just executed by the whole Hilliard team, with the sweepers being really involved there.
It was nice weight. It wasn't enough to get the rock all the way through the house, but it was enough to accomplish what they needed.
Brothers with an opportunity for a double here. Does that yellow one hang on the back there, Danielle?
From here it does, but on the screen it's really hard to tell if it's biting or not.
This is going to be if that rock comes into play later on, an opportunity to use the scribe or the 6-foot stick to determine whether that rock's a counter or not. And we've seen the 6-foot stick used a couple times during this event. Not something you see every day. We haven't made the double here. Blue still sits 1, and yellow, brothers, sits 2 and possibly 3.
I believe we've got a blank over on D. After 7 ends, Chad Stevens leads Matthew Manuel 6-3, if that in fact was a blank.
If that in fact is Manuel's first name.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure you're right too, but now I gotta look.
Well, if it's not, I've just named him myself.
Confirmed, Matt Manuel. Time out.
So, Team Hilliard has called a timeout.
Of which they have 2, but they want to get in touch with their coach here, and
Their
check
coach,
out
being
his
Paul
opinion.
Hilliard, is on his way downstairs to talk to them about what's going on. The brothers team having a little huddle up by the Hoglund.
taking advantage of their opportunity to get together, chat about what's happening, make plans for what'll happen after Hilliard makes their shot.
Again, the brothers' coach is Taylor Ardeal, playing lead on Matt Manuel's team.
You could see, I'm not sure if you can see, but I can see from here, Julie Morley out there timing the timeout, indicating to the officials on the inside when to start the clock again. Not yet. Timeouts are 1 minute now, are they, Danielle?
I believe so.
I believe so too. We can take another opportunity to say hi to our buddy Owen Graham, who's very late watching from home today,
We could take an opportunity to say hi, Owen.
and to anyone else who is watching from home this afternoon or this morning. Thanks for tuning in, making us feel like we're not talking into the void.
I have to tell you, neither of us have any idea what time of day it is. There's a clock direct in front of us.
It's 11:06.
Yeah, but which one?
Yeah, I know, right? Well, we're facing the ice shed, and there's no windows out there, so you never know.
Julie Morley signaling that time is about to go in. Time is in now. So we are back into their thinking time.
And Team Hilliard's still pretty undecided as to what they're going to do here. Heather Mcphee is indicating where she thinks they should end up.
I expect this is the shot they talked about with...
Lots of experience on this team as well, with everyone having been to a junior national, although not necessarily together. That's a great example of competitive experience.
Yeah, it is.
So it looks like, nope, the shot I thought they were doing, they would not possibly be doing. So I'm not entirely sure what the plan is here, Danielle.
I feel like they might be hitting and flopping to center.
Oh yeah, that makes more sense. I was like, they're going to run that yellow back onto the blue, but they're blue, so probably that's not what they're going to do.
Well, not on purpose.
Not on purpose. That's not what's going to happen. They're going to make
No.
a perfect hit and flop to center here, and then Brothers just going to do something equally brilliant. That's how the game's going to play out.
We've seen a lot of really good shots today.
Yeah.
A lot of great curling this week.
And the rock is in motion.
We've got
Mackenzie's already down, trying to keep it straight.
joined by Heather, encouraged by both Tanya and Taylor.
And that roll maybe a little too far.
Jill
Jill's going
now,
to try to make sure that it's as far out and as exposed as possible.
and
Findell looking for that spin back on, but
Got
she
a little bit.
a little bit, but not enough to sweep for, I guess.
Jill looking, trying to decide what to do.
I wonder how that blue rock you can see.
I
She
think
just-
you've got just about all of it.
I think she just indicated there that if you can hit what you can see, that it'll be jamming on another one of these presumably dead stones in the back corner.
At the back.
this eighth is an important end. If Jill was able to score a couple here, or even steal here, going up 4 with 2 ends to play is a pretty significant difference. And at the same time, if Hilliard was able to take a chunk out of that 3-point lead of Brothers, it would really make this continue to be a very competitive game.
Jill and Aaron having a conversation, Aaron sitting in the hack, trying to decide what is best for them to do here.
They're not having any discussion about moving any of those guards. I think they're in a really good place for Brothers, and I think she wants to leave them there.
I think they've decided to try this almost cross-house double. No, the broom is down again.
Well, with the crosshouse double, you reintroduce the possibility, and that gesture that Jill just made, the sort of opening up gesture, indicates to me that they're... Oh,
They might be talking about doing something in the middle.
yeah.
Um,
Timeout for
Timeout.
Brothers on cheat C.
I think that is a good idea. While the timeout is happening, I'm just going to get an update on how much thinking time they have left.
So Brothers, as we mentioned earlier, Coach Taylor Adriel is participating in the game on the adjacent sheet, so he's not going to be able to join them for the timeout. This timeout is, and we also said earlier that Brothers doesn't have an alternate, so this timeout is just going to be an opportunity for the players already on the ice to discuss what their plan is without chewing on their thinking time.
Hilliard's thinking time is right now at 14 minutes, and Brothers is at 13 and change.
So starting out with 38 minutes means that they expect players to use about 3.8 minutes an end. No, that can't be right. Anyway, just a little bit more than 3 minutes an end for thinking, and they've got about...
They've got enough time.
They've got about 6 minutes left per end. So this isn't an urgent timeout, but it's nice to see the team electing to use the resources available to them. Julie Morley.
Again, preparing to let the officials inside know when to start the clock again.
Eric Carmody seems to be enthusiastic about this run back on the center Yellowstone.
You know, I
onto
don't
the
hate
blue.
that.
I don't hate it either. Definitely a higher difficulty shot, but risk reward, this might be the way to go.
Do you want to talk a little bit about risk versus reward?
No.
No?
I mean, the risk here is, of course, that they don't make the shot and then they just open up the center, which would give Tanya Hilliard an opportunity to draw for 2 that they don't have right now.
I mean
But-
more in general.
More. Okay. Why'd you do that to me? But when she throws this, the shooter is, if they're anywhere close to making it, which I expect they will be, given the caliber of the players here, the shooter hang out near to where that guard is now. And so even if the shot isn't made, they're going to end up in pretty much the same defensive situation that they have right now. So the risk is fairly low. The worst thing that could happen is that they would lose that guard, but that guard's not doing them any favors right now anyway. And the reward is high. They would have a buried own stone behind 2 of their own guards. Now,
That oop noise was when they're...
Carmody just got a little bit too little of that yellow stone. They bopped it to the side there. The blue stone is exposed, so again, it was a pretty solid risk-reward bargain for the Brothers team.
And it is biting now the top 12.
Oh, timeout in the men's game. These tiebreaker games, of course, are teams that have been competitive with each other throughout the entire 7-game round robin. And so it's not surprising to see it starting to get a little bit complicated here in the 8th end of both games. Timeouts being called by all but one of the teams so far.
Some more chatting, and you don't want to run out of your time.
That's right.
As we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, but if you're just tuning into us or have just tuned into us, this is a nice shot by by Taylor Clark.
I think that was a little heavier than they expected, but they really had to go for line, and they did end up rubbing on the front yellow one there.
Yeah.
And it deflected into the center, but there's going to be a double opportunity here for Brothers, but she's still going to make it.
Murphy just looking at the blue catcher in the corner. I think, though, you have to get rid of these rocks.
Yeah, given the opportunity, and since they've been buried the whole time, this is a very appealing double for the Brothers team.
As I was going to say, you used to be able to see the clock from the other end above the scoreboard, but now the clocks are inside on a computer monitor. So you'll see players looking toward the glass instead of looking to the boards to find out how much time they have remaining.
Kind of makes sense though, because the display of the clock is right by the timekeeper, and so they can look at the clock, call their timeout, and the timekeeper, they would be making eye contact with them at the same time. So
Yeah. It's a little more efficient.
Effective for sure. Big weight here by Jill Brothers.
Again, Jill able to throw that big weight
Consistently.
make it look effortless.
Oh,
Removing one fully and
just kind of bopping the other one on the head.
moving it to the back of the button, though.
And rolling behind cover. This is going to make it difficult for Hilliard to score more than one here.
For sure.
That yellow rock at the front of the house is pretty difficult to get at. For Hilliard to score 2 here, they're going to have 2 stones full 4.
Buried. Because Jill does still have another stone.
Yep.
This is Hilliard's first.
So Hilliard, I doubt, will be trying to throw this stone into it now. They're going to want to protect the one that's in the 4-foot and give themselves an opportunity to maybe tap for the second point. What do you think?
That would be my guess. I
think if she throws another one into the 4-foot here, it's going to give Brothers an opportunity to throw
that hit again.
Yeah, a double, which
Yeah.
she's very capable of doing, and in spot where she just threw. So with players at this level being so consistent, you don't want to give them a look at the same shot twice in a row if you can avoid it. This looks warm to me, though, Danielle.
It looks warm to me too, Denise.
Maybe
I was
they're
going
gonna
to
give it a little
say.
bounce.
But then they put their brooms down. I think they're just trying to keep it clean.
Yep. Oh, it's breaking like crazy.
Going now.
There we go.
We have seen some pretty big picks throughout the week. One big pick Stuart Thompson had yesterday.
It's just that I know Stuart Thompson did have that one big and really disappointing pick where he ended up giving up 4, but I haven't noticed that many other picks. Like, I think I saw one early on, and other than that, the ice has been fairly clean.
The ice has been fairly clean. I've seen a couple just I did make note of them. There was most of them I think have been on other sheets.
Not on C. You mean.
Not on C.
So Jill Brothers is going to be playing a double here, hoping, I think, to flop behind cover with the backing of that second rock. Maybe it's not a double. Definitely making a play on this exposed blue rock, though.
Even if she just hits it and flops on top of the other blue, you're owning a lot of the button then.
So the responsibility for moving debris from the ice starts with your ice maintenance team, where they are out there with the sheepskin and the dust rag trying to keep it clean for you. It's really on the curlers and making sure, especially at a club curling level, that your gear is, oh, what a great shot.
What a great shot by Jill Brothers.
She hit that exposed blue rock and flopped just gently and perfectly in front of the blue rock that's behind the button, and I believe yellow is that shot now.
Jill has a big chunk of the button. There is a little bit of separation there, but not a lot. Going back to debris on the ice, keeping your grippers in good shape is really quite important.
Grippers are, like, not inexpensive, but not terribly. Replacing them once a year, bearing in mind that, that rubber's going to break down, and where does that broken down rubber go? You're leaving that on the ice. Like, it doesn't just disappear.
And sometimes, depending on how much you curl, you might need to replace them more than once a year.
Yeah. But if you've got like a hole in your grip,
It is well past time.
yeah. Other good ways to prevent depositing debris on the ice are to use the boot cleaners and to think about, like, you know, what are you wearing out in the ice shed? Is it fluffy?
Is it the shoes you just walked through the snow to get to the curl?
That's just devastating. And even if, like, you're playing in a Sunday night rental league wearing boots that you had out in the snow onto the ice surface, that affects play in the club for the rest of the week.
Or the sneakers that you use in the summer,
Yeah.
and then you use them for curling in the winter. You really should have,
Dedicated shoes for curling.
yeah.
You don't have to get, like, curling shoes, but have shoes that are your shoes for curling. And you can see here, this is a great opportunity to look, actually. Heather Mcphee's got on a pair, I think, red New Balances that she's had the curling store put gripper glider on. So you can have your curling shoes be any shoes you want. You can certainly be comfortable, but just make sure that your shoes are, you know, dedicated for their purpose, because it makes a big difference to your game and the games of everyone around you.
It looks like Mackenzie Findell has similar sneakers turned into
Yeah.
curling shoes.
That's very popular right now.
It is something that's happening a lot right now. You want something that's going to fit your foot the right way. That was a great shot.
Great, great double to sit 3 by Stevens on sheet D. Tanya Hilliard's looking at what I think is pretty much her only shot here. She's got a sort of a run back double to remove both those yellow stones and hopefully have her existing blue stone be the counter. This is a difficult force. And it's coming about because of those guards that Brothers played early in the end. We've talked about this several times this weekend, but when you have control of the center of the 4-foot area and the center line, that really comes into play at the end of the end, meaning the ease or difficulty of the shot that you have to throw to get out of the end.
So Tanya is in the hack, about to throw the last rock of this end. We've just been told that Chad's over on sheet D is playing
Lights out.
lights out game.
That's a great curling expression,
It is.
meaning that he's just playing pretty much perfect. Hasn't missed a shot yet this game.
So sweepers going pretty hard here.
Got to get past that first, second guard, and fully removed.
I think so. I think that,
It's going to be one yellow.
is it one yellow?
I don't know.
It's one for someone.
Yep. The
Surprise.
Hilliard celebrated that shot, so I think perhaps it was that one blue one counting at the back.
I
They
think
moved
that
the
is a
rock
great
so
shot.
hard. They moved the rock so fast, and I wasn't able to see who was the counter, but they seemed to be pretty pleased. And
They should be. That was not an easy shot.
no, and Brothers has got to be pretty pleased with that force as well.
Yeah.
All right. The faces of the Hilliard team are determined, ready to enter the next end on the back of that great throw by Tanya Hilliard.
So Hilliard getting one in the 8th end, which,
Oh, yeah, they must have gotten one because Heather's in the hack.
because Heather's in the hack. So
Excellent deductive skills, Danielle.
thanks. So that puts Brothers up 5-E over Hilliard after 8. Brothers and Hilliard having a little chat down there.
Surely exchange of congratulations for an end well played.
I really think so. So we're throwing our first rock in the 9th end. Heather Ross, Mcphee,
Ever consistent.
ever consistent.
Giving her sweepers a little opportunity to warm up. It is cold out there.
Yeah.
We're just confirming that with our ever diligent scorekeepers. We're posting the results on the web for your viewing pleasure.
This rock ending up a little bit higher than Heather has been throwing them, but I think
It was over curling a little bit, so I think that's the best result that they could have
so
hoped
too.
for once that rock stopped. Jen Bryan, who I wanted to call Erin Carmody, throwing to the tee line in the wings there. The wings, Danielle.
The wings.
Both Sweeper's working away on it, trying to get it to the tee line. They're all going to be pretty happy with that accurately placed shot. What is happening to you?
Quacking.
Tanya playing the come around here, asking Heather, drop one in the house.
Oh,
Sweeper's on it already. Later in the game, you often see the ice slow down because there are fewer people in the ice shed, but right now there's only 2 fewer bodies than there were before, and one of those bodies was a child. So I don't think that it can be a change in temperature in the ice shed, especially since later in the day it's getting warmer outside. That's going to affect the conditions as well. Great shot by Heather. Tight guard.
Tracy Frau team are probably keeping a really close eye on
Definitely.
temperature and speed. In fact, Tracy is standing behind us right now.
He is. Stopwatch in hand as always.
So he can have a good view of what's happening on the ice.
Not just for this game, to keep the ice consistent for the entire tournament. Tracy's been here dawn till dusk every day, keeping an eye on every game.
It does take a lot of work to have ice the quality that it is. Tracy strives to have excellent ice all of the time, and he and of ice minions, as I have taken to calling them, are working hard to keep the ice really good. So
And this gives the players competing here and the victors the opportunity to be playing on ice that's going to be at least comparable to the surface that they're going to be playing on in Moose Jaw. So,
and as a club curler, sometimes it's easy to forget the work it takes to make ice for us to play on all the time. So thank your local ice maker next time you see them.
and respect that ice surface, man. Don't kneel. Don't bring dirty shoes in here. It's a lot to keep that, that water cold and flat.
And ice technicians take a lot of pride in their work. And, thank them for the work that they do. And
Bring him some Timbits or something.
yeah.
All right. What's happening here now, Danielle? Take out?
I believe that
Great hook grip.
the great hook grip of Mackenzie Findell is going to draw around, I think. I don't think that has the speed to be a takeout.
I think it's a little bumpy bump.
You think it's a little bumpy bump? I think it's
too hot for a draw.
I think she is going to, do a little bumpy bump.
Little roll.
Yeah.
Heather was definitely ready for that roll, but it didn't unfold the way that they had hoped.
No.
Still a great shot by Mackenzie. All right. Brothers, thinking that stone is significant enough to move, lines up, and who's that, Sarah Murphy?
That is, in fact, Sarah Murphy.
Little heavier weight than was just played by the Hilliard team. Aaron Carmody working to keep it straight. And they do get that little pop behind that Hilliard was looking for.
It's
over-rolled a little bit.
But where Heather McPhee's first rock is high, it might still be under a little bit of cover.
With the length of that top guard, although I think that the view of that Yellowstone is obstructed, perhaps access to it isn't as good because the rock is going to have that longer opportunity to come up.
Dad likes to say to us that sometimes it's more important to guard the path than it is to guard the stone.
Yes.
So I don't know if you're listening out there, Dad, but
We were listening, even if we don't
even if you don't think we do.
execute. All right, great guard here by the one with the long hair.
The one with the long hair, Denise, is Mackenzie.
Findell.
Yes.
And I think they had probably hoped to tuck around behind there, so her line was perfect if the weight was a little bit less than what they wanted.
I think so, but Jill's going to take a second to decide what's happening
They're
here.
going to have to deal with this because, like we've been saying the whole game, if you've got last rock, you want to make sure that you have control of that. I mean, the whole game is control of that center section, but with last rock, you especially want to make sure that you have an opportunity for a makeable last shot. So Sarah Murphy playing a peel here.
It's a great peel, I think.
Yep, textbook.
Takes away both of the stones. This is what you want to see.
See the Delight and Scotties banners out there? I wonder if they're alternating them each draw. We should ask Tracy about that later. I'm out a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds exactly what he needs is more stress this week.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone else who we have thanked a couple of times this game, but we should thank again, I think, is Lynn Burgess.
Yep.
Her great team of volunteers. Lynn has been the chair of this event for all 3 years that it's been held here. She does a great job.
Really soft-spoken, gentle person, but like impeccably organized and not to be messed with. She is she's just a force. Lynn's one of my favorite people.
Mine too. An update over on sheet D. It looks like Matt Manuel got 2. The score now being 6-5 for Stevens, but Manuel just staying right in it.
And that's after 8 ends. These are both nice, and that's what you expect to see in a
tiebreaker.
yeah, exactly.
Some really great shots being made all across the sheet. I say all across the sheet. There's only 2.
Both games here, any team could end up being Nova Scotia's representative at the Scotties and the Briar this year.
And that is the great thing about the provincial playdowns. The beginning of the week, any one of the 8 men's and 8 women's teams could be leaving here with their new blue jackets.
No blue jackets. All right. Jill can work on controlling the center of the
House.
yeah, let's say that.
Okay.
The center of the play area here. Erin Carmody playing a double or triple peel. Double peel. Good result there.
Yeah.
Only 1 blue rock remains and 2 yellow rocks counting right now, and shooter rolling to possibly usable corner guard position.
Sarah Murphy having a little bit of a trip there just before she started sweeping, but had a really good recovery and was able to sweep the whole way down.
She's got a big grin on now, so I think she's doing.
I think so too. Is Hilliard replacing the guards?
I think so. Taylor Clark in the hack. I feel like she's thrown every stone this end, but that's just me. Great delivery. Heather's on it right away, trying to keep it straight. Great weight judge, so if she's down, that could mean a number of things. The ability to judge weight, let's talk about this for a little while.
Okay.
The ability to judge weight, especially at the club level, which we've been talking about a lot this morning, is something that you can develop even if your skills aren't catching up as fast as you want. Taking the risk and guessing weight out loud and sort of being accountable to yourself for committing to guessing weight is a skill that any player can develop regardless of when you're hurling, and something that skips really value. It's very lonely and quiet up there if you aren't getting feedback from your sweepers.
Most times skips are going to, especially when you're a newer curler, say things like, I'm never going to get mad if you get it wrong, just give any sort of feedback.
Yeah.
And it's a great way for you to learn and contribute. I know some newer players who are hesitant to say it loudly, but will have a conversation with whoever they're sweeping with and say, this is where, and then they can converse a little bit about it before.
Yeah, and as long as you're saying it out loud to yourself or someone else, you've committed to an idea, and you can measure whether you were accurate or not and do better on your next try.
And you're always allowed to change. It's not...
That's right. As long as the rock's moving, you can still contribute your opinion.
We're on Tanya Hilliard's stones now. Is she throwing the draw? I can't tell from where the broom is if it's the draw or the guard again. My guess would be the draw.
I think she's got to come in now.
I think so. Yellow is sitting 2 right now.
Yep. So she's going to be relying on Mackenzie to finish this one for her. We're really going to want to suck it around those 2 guards there.
The sweeper's just kind of keeping it clean and staying close. They're not They're not on it yet.
I wanted to talk about responsibility areas for sweepers. So, if you're the sweeper, your job is to guess how far the rock is going to go. Your job isn't to worry about line. That's the job of the thrower and, more importantly, the person in the house.
So when you are sweeping, if you stop sweeping for a reason, just stop and then stand behind the rock, because then the thrower can no longer see.
No, I thought there was going to be a little running into each other there, because Aaron Carmody was looking down and Joe Brothers was looking back. But fortunately, everyone looked up before there was impact. So make sure you don't obstruct the view of your teammates, and make sure you take responsibility for the part that's your job, and allow and trust your teammates to take responsibility for the part that's their job. Remember, boring you with our lectures to club curlers, there is a mute button. Or you could switch and listen to John Steinman.
Excitement.
I'm so sorry, John. Who is narrating for you the Manuel Stevens game, in which Stevens is up 1 point after 8.
Brothers throwing a hit here on the guard I'm not sure if it was a guard or if it was in.
But it was a central blue rock that they didn't want there anymore.
Yeah. So that was a good throw by Jill, I think.
And you can see Jill's, I think, regain control out of what had started out to be a junky end. Now, with 1-2 right now? Yep. Brothers is sitting 1-2 yellow stones. Hoping to get out of this one with a couple, but Hilliard, in an attempt to prevent that, is going to try to come around that yellow stone as though it were a guard, even though it's in the house. Here in the 9th end. I'm really good at counting.
That's good. It's a skill that you need for things like curling and golf. Yeah. Knitting.
Right, this rock's in motion. It looks a little hot to me, but it's hard to judge from up here. Neither of the sweepers have a broom down, so...
And Taylor Clark has backed up to the back blue. I think it might be a little hot, and they're hoping for some backing here.
Yeah. Jill's trying to move it back a little bit, but she's not going to sweep it too far because it's curling. And so if she continues to sweep a rock that's curling, she's just going to bury it and probably not drag it far enough to not count.
It did end up biting the back 4.
Yeah, that's pretty decent weight.
Yeah.
Jill's definitely got to deal with that in order to score here. If she can get just a little to split it out and her own rolls out, then she'll be getting 2. And if she can get enough of it to hang around, then there's a real possibility for 3 here for Brothers.
Is this her last rock?
Yes.
Is this the last rock?
It is the last rock. It is the ultimate rock.
So do you, sort of with a quiet hit, she could come up enough and just bop that?
I'm imagining a hack weight hit here, and it's like definitely the shot to throw. And we were talking earlier in this game about the importance of having hit weights. And this one is one where she's going to throw sort of a quiet hack to bumper weight hit and rely on her sweepers to keep it from over curling or make sure it curls enough.
That is what I was imagining as well. But again, my imagination can be a little overactive.
Let's see what she's got for us.
Yeah.
You can see Tanya and her mate standing perfectly still, able to see the line of delivery, but not at all interfering with the other team's progress. Aaron Carmody sweeping, trying to keep it from over curling. Lots of encouragement from the thrower and the player in the house. And they have enough.
Made contact.
Will it roll too far?
It will. I think it's just... Oh, will it?
I can't see from here.
I think it's
They're
just 2.
moving the rock, so I think that's going to be 2 for Brothers, making the score 7-3 for Brothers. Okay.
Again, the team's having huddles I believe it to be 2, but we will update you when someone posts.
Yep.
Over on sheet D, it's looking like Manuel has a hit, but this is not last rock, so...
This is a draw, I believe, Daniel.
Manuel?
Yeah, but
Oh,
if
yes,
you want
because
the
he is blue.
up-to-date information, you can go on the live event and hear John Seitman give you the deets.
He will probably know what color each team is throwing, because I apparently don't.
Alrighty.
So we've got Jen Bryan in the hack.
Ready to rocket into this next end. I'll remind you, this 7-3 for brothers.
We believe it to be 7.
We believe it to be at least 7-3 for brothers after 9 ends. So, with that 4-point difference here, brothers is going to want to keep stones in the house and keep as few stones in play as possible. Run Hilliard out of stones. This may not have been their ideal shot. Oh no, it looks really good. They're going to be in the house there, which means it could be removed.
I think they're wanting top 4. It's going to be pretty much exactly where they want. Maybe
that necessarily aggressive corner guard called by Tanya Hilliard here. They're going to play this end out, I think. Like, this is their opportunity to go to the Scotties, and they're not going
to sit down.
They're not going to want to have their, noon o'clock beers too early in the day here. What? I don't know how much anybody listens to, but here on the East Coast, traditionally the winning team will purchase a beverage for their opponents. Although I played in Central Canada for a little while, where that tradition isn't really upheld.
Brothers did there. So yes, Denise, it is 7-3 brothers over Hilliard.
After 9 ends.
After 9 ends. It's so weird to see a 9. We're so used to playing 8-end games.
Yep. 9's an extra, and you don't usually see extras in club play.
But we do go to 10 here. Over on sheet D, Matt Manuel should tie it up, and they are at 6 all after 9 ends.
With Stevens taking the hammer into 10. Our sainted officials are out there pacing, keeping an eye,
trying to keep warm,
freezing their tookuses off.
Brothers coming out to sweep, giving some a break.
They want to make sure they... I wonder why that happened.
Well, it's a lot of sweeping.
It is. 10 ends is a long time.
Yeah. And also, it's possible Brothers is cold and wanted to...
Fair enough.
Yeah.
It's cold when you're just standing out there, too. Not to say this, I would never say that.
But they don't sweep
as much.
The length that everybody else sweeps.
Exactly.
And sometimes your body needs to do something, or else all of your limbs are going to fall off. You're that cold.
Heather Mcphee throwing a guard here. Aggressive play by Tanya Hilliard, which is absolutely what is called for in this situation.
And so Brothers is currently sitting 2, both in the top 8 and both on the center line. They're talking about throwing sort of a hack weight bump here, I think.
It's a lot more rocks than I would have thought we would see in play in the end. With the score difference of 4 points, I'm surprised there's this many rocks in play. But with the 4 guard, 5 guards, that's so many guards.
I'm really not sure what they're throwing here.
I think you're going to see sort of a tight center guard.
Am I?
That is not what it is. I think they're just throwing this one away.
I think they might be.
All right. The world's starting to make a little more sense to me right now.
Me too.
All right. Because you just don't want to have a bunch of junk in there that Tanya Hilliard could manage to Velcro a couple rocks onto, and then it starts to be a...
Then you have to do something to get them
to be a situation. Who's delivered this rock for us, Danielle?
This is Mackenzie Findell, yeah.
Heather's on the inside there, which means they're trying to prevent the rock from overcurling. They got to squeeze by that long corner guard thrown by Heather Mcphee earlier in the end, and they are going to get it to the 12-foot here.
And then I don't know if you could see at home, but they did switch who was on the inside there, trying to get a little more curl.
So Heather had been trying to keep it straight, and then
Taylor.
switched to being on the inside, trying to push it down the hill there. Of course, they weren't trying to physically push it down the hill, but that's always what I imagine is happening. Big weight from Sarah Murphy here, peeling off the protective corner guard thrown earlier in the year. Mcphee, the shooter, and the target rock roll out. Starting to look a little bit more how I expected this end to go.
Me too.
Tanya's called a draw around the remaining corner guard. I love that grip.
It is a very nice grip that takes a lot of time to work on. Your grip is an important part of your delivery.
I mean, it's where the body meets the stone. Let's see how they finish this one up. Scrub's got pretty good weight here, though. I think they're going to get a piece of the 8-foot.
I think so.
Oh, make me right. Oh, well.
No, I think if you look at the monitor, they're biting the 8. Just a little cookie bite, but...
There's that hair broom used for delivery but not for sweeping, making its way down sheet B.
You might not have seen it there, but...
There's Aaron Carmody. Yes? Yes.
Yes.
Removing the available blue stone. And I think they're going to try to roll to the center.
That's what I would be wanting, I think. Just keeping it clean here. A little roll to center. Sort of a cluster there in the middle.
Yep. Little pocket at the front there that has attracted Tanya, and I think they're going to try to drop a draw on top there. Even this deep in the game, we're seeing consistent use of that calming tool, which is a pre-shot routine by all participants.
If you think about other sports like basketball, makes a foul shot, they have a routine.
Very consistently, and golf especially, pre-shot routine is an essential part of the game.
Or football, the kicker
Yep.
often has a pre-shot routine.
That sort of aspect of ritual when you're performing a task that requires concentration is really significant. As Danielle mentioned earlier, though, when you're developing your own pre-shot routine, make sure it's not lengthy. Just do the things that are necessary to do, like cleaning off your rock and aligning yourself, but make sure you do them the same way every time, and that's what a good pre-shot routine is made of.
Give your shot.
Don't think about all of the things that can happen, though. Just think, like, once you're in the hack, you're only thinking about this is where I'm aiming, this is how hard I'm going to push, and this is the turn I'm throwing, and then you go.
But also, if you are skipping, just because someone isn't sitting in the hack for 5 seconds doesn't mean they're not concentrating. They might do all of their visuals and stuff in a different point of their routine than you do.
And if you're wondering about that, that's a great opportunity to talk with your teammates about how they're thinking about their game and understanding. And the better we understand each other, the more effective teammates we can be.
Exactly.
Right, there's a little pocket of yellow stones at the front here.
We've got Taylor Clark throwing, I think, another draw.
Yep, more juice on it, so we might see some yellow rocks get rattled around. Mackenzie and Heather giving it a good scrub. This has been a great showing for this team. I really like this little grouping.
They did promote one of the yellows to bite a bigger bite of the
Blue rocks are in front of the yellow rocks. They do have sort of a control over the blue rocks. The blue rocks can impact the yellow ones in a way that the yellow ones cannot impact the blue ones.
by way of taps and runbacks.
Exactly. Thank you for making me make sense.
That's literally why I'm here.
Our buddy Karen J is happy.
Oh, that makes me happy too.
Thanks, Karen. Hi.
Hi.
We love your paintings.
Yes, we do.
All right, what's the plan here for Brothers?
I think that Brothers is putting one on top of those blues.
You don't think she's going to remove that blue rock that don't let broom right on? Or
Well-
stone right on?
When she sort of tapped, it looked to me like it was a draw, but now it might be a hit.
That looks like
It
hit power to me.
looks like hit power.
We were saying yesterday about
Jen Baxter.
and Christina Black how consistent their delivery, they throw their stone. Their body position is exactly the same. You could take a picture of them and not be able to tell how hard they just threw the stone. And the same can be said for many of these curlers, but especially
Jill Brothers.
so consistent.
Really, until she was close to the hog line, I was not sure what kind of weight she was throwing.
Yeah, she's just so smooth and consistent.
Yeah.
This is quite the situation Hilliard finds herself in. She wants to maybe try this double yellow, but she does have the opportunity to advance her blue there, and I think that's what Heather's going to suggest. As we mentioned before, lots of great experience on this team. Heather's represented Nova Scotia as a junior, but also at the Travelers Championships, which is a great program. Do you want to talk about Travelers for a little while?
I could talk about Travelers for a little while.
How about you talk about Travelers for a little while?
Certainly. Travelers, it's formally Travelers.
What are we, Dominion now?
No, we were Dominion before that. I don't
Wait,
know who
Louise
we are.
knows what it is. Yeah. Oh, club curling.
So, the Club Curling Championships originally was designed for people who wanted to curl competitively but didn't want to curl at the Untitled. So it gave club curlers an opportunity to get to go and compete and see what it was like. It's evolved, as many tournaments do, but it's given a lot of people a lot of opportunity to at provincial and national levels who wouldn't get the opportunity to go at a Scotties or Tankard level.
So even though curling, great job by Tanya.
That
there,
was a great job by
removing the
Tanya.
yellow rock, putting her blue rock into play. Interest by both Heather and
Taylor.
in that kind of backspin that we were talking about, the extra bite for those sharpened provincial rocks.
That is something I've noticed. We've got handshakes and fist bumps happening. So Jill Brothers
Will advance.
Will advance. A great showing by Tanya Hilliard, though.
I'm really pleased with this. Just excited to see what they do in the future.
So am I.
Okay, great luck to Brothers this afternoon. I hope to see a super game between them and Team Colleen Jones. They'll be playing 2 o'clock here at the... Is that right? 2 o'clock?
I believe so.
It might be 7 o'clock.
Well, you know what? The